Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Hey, Tyler. Oh, nothing. Everything is awesome. Everything is fine here. And you?
I don't want you to complain about California burning down. So, since this is going to be released, I don't know, in the January 20th, like the 20s, let's get our hot 2 week after the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal absolute game collector reaction 17-minute YouTube video. Yeah, they made another Nintendo Switch, Johnny. It's the same thing.
They sure did. Shocking.
What is there to be excited or not excited about this? It's literally like, here's the new Toyota Corolla. It's the same thing as the last one. We changed a little bit cosmetically, I guess.
Do you like the Nintendo Switch? Well, then you might also like the Nintendo Switch more.
So maybe the one thing that's interesting to me is that Nintendo has not made a piece of hardware this boring in a very long time. And don't tell me that, oh, it's got shitty mouse support. Joy-Cons are the worst controllers ever made. I don't want mouse support on a Joy-Con that 6 games are going to use and nothing else will ever use.
What about all those FPSs?
Right? Everyone's playing their FPSs on Nintendo Switch. The people who are playing FPSs on Nintendo Switch, they're really looking for like, oh, I need my ultra precise Nintendo Joy-Con mouse so I could really pwn those noobs. Yeah, those are the people playing like Call of Duty on Switch.
You want a hot take?
What's the hot take?
The best FPS controller ever made that isn't a mouse was the Wiimote and Nunchuck.
That's a really stupid take, but okay. There's so much input lag. It's not good. I can't even play light gun games with that.
I'm just saying, you will be playing against everyone with the same conditions, so you're all on equal footing.
You know what is a good controller? The PlayStation Move controller, which is like the Wiimote, but it works. I'm not going to call it the best FPS controller besides a mouse, though. Johnny, Nintendo... I
was just giving you something to complain about.
You think about like the DS and the Wii and the Wii U and the Switch and the 3DS and even like the DSi had a stupid camera, even though that was a pointless console. But like every single time they release hardware, they do something like kind of interesting and they're like, well, we're not just a video game machine company. We make cool things that are also like weird toys and technology.
Kind of.
And this is like a major console they're coming out with and they're not doing that.
So the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo didn't do that. The Nintendo to the N64
okay, we're talking about what, then
really
1991? That's a little bit of a long time ago.
We're sure, but if we're saying they never do this, that's not true. They did it from the N64 to the GameCube. The GameCube, the Wii is just a GameCube with a different controller and a sensor bar. That's the gimmick. This is not even a new console.
Okay, these are bad takes. I think you're trying to do it intentionally to make me mad. But obviously Nintendo moving to a CD medium is a big jump technologically for them.
No.
And the Wiimote controller is a huge jump. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. You have your controllers, one controller in each hand. That's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to give you something here, Tyler.
I know. I did the same thing. I go back and I'm like, wow, like the most boring consoles Nintendo's ever put out are like the SNES, which was 30 years ago. So I don't think they've had you could say like, oh, the 2DS, like you could do like little incremental bullshit like that, but they haven't had like a major system as boring as this in a while. And they just are coming off a console that's like entirely ports. Like, what's going on, Nintendo?
Tyler,
you're supposed to be the one bucking the trend of the technology industry. Here I said like, oh, how is there anything to complain about or not complain about? I'm Tyler. I'm going to find something to complain about.
Yeah. Tyler, if this is to the Nintendo what the Super Nintendo was to that, then we are in a really good spot here.
Sure, but except that the Switch is not the NES because it doesn't have 600 unique games that you can't play anywhere else. It's got 2,000 games that you can play everywhere else.
But maybe the Switch 2 doesn't. Also, we don't know everything about it yet. I mean, also, I feel like Nintendo was a little bit rushed in this announcement. Like, I feel like they got put in a box by all the stuff that leaked after CES, and they were like, okay, we have to do something. So they gave like this tiny little micro announcement just to, so, you know, other people weren't eating their lunch.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to video game industry news and leaks and all that, so I wasn't really.
I mean, CES is not for video games specifically. It's, you know, the Consumer Electronics Show. It's about technology in general and TVs, mostly TVs.
Johnny, what could have fucking leaked? That they're making a Switch 2? Oh, that the controllers are a little bigger? Like, how big of a leak could have there been?
No, there were people who had like the specs and the dimensions that were like out there, and like cases were being shown and stuff. So
wow,
I think they were combating some of that.
All right. Wow, Nintendo reacting to stuff, very un-Nintendo of them. I don't know.
Look, I'm just this is just speculation. I don't know anything. But maybe the only reason I say that is maybe we will see something else. Maybe it will do more and we just don't know. Or maybe they just looked at the Switch and were like, man, this thing is tired and needs better specs and we got to do something. So they just released a boring one and made it backwards compatible so no one complained. And then they're going to sell 1 million more units of it.
See, they are. That's exactly what they did. But like the most Nintendo thing they could do is have the ultra successful thing, the Nintendo Wii, and then they're just like, what if we just made something that no one wants? And then sell 1/10 as many of them. That is the Nintendo product that I'm looking for.
Yeah. You're looking for the Wii U 2 to happen.
Exactly. And you can't call it the Wii U 2. That makes it too obvious that it's a new thing. Also, even the name, Nintendo's never made a sequel console like this that has a name, and when they did the Wii U, they made it sound super dumb. And here they're like really learning their lesson, like, oh, we should make sure people buy
Super
this.
Nintendo and Nintendo. Tyler, Super Nintendo and Nintendo. Famicom, Super Famicom. They.
That's first again going back to 30 years, but also the 3DS maybe. I don't know. This is the most direct
DS,
sequel
3DS. Yeah. Famicom disk system.
You can't go back to the Famicom disk system. That's not a valid example.
Is this not history? Is that not what we're here to talk about?
Johnny, we're here to talk about historic video games that cost hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds. Maybe two of hundreds.
Two of hundreds of dollars. Can you name a video game that costs $200, Johnny?
I can name so many on so many old systems. Do you want me to start?
Johnny, just give me a video game that costs $200. Give me a Nintendo cartridge that costs $200.
Ooh, maybe Cowboy Kid?
Johnny, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2?
Ooh, good one.
Snow Brothers? The Jetsons game for some reason?
Snow Brothers is coming down because Limited Run just announced they're releasing one. So just relax. Okay.
Action 52?
That's not a real game.
Maybe the Ubisoft version of Indiana Jones and Last Crusade?
And these are cartridges. Only?
If you get it up into like $200 complete games, there's like 100 of them that you could just like pull out of a hat. And this is just NES we're talking about.
This is amazing. Man, you get some good stuff for $200 on the NES.
When there's a game that people recognize as interesting or rare, they're like, oh, this game's worth a lot of money. Let's pay up for this.
Yeah. So, Tyler, then the same should apply for modern games, right? There should be a lot of modern games because those are collectible. People are all over those. I see it on social media. There should be a lot of $200 modern games, right?
Well, that is making an interesting assumption, and that is assuming that modern games are interesting to collect, Johnny.
Are they?
Well, I mean, to some people,
Tell me, Tyler. Tell me, Tyler. Am I doing the right thing by collecting modern games?
There are lots of rare, interesting, and collectible modern games, Johnny.
Should we define what modern games are before we get into this? This is the topic of the episode, if you guys haven't gathered this. I know we didn't do a lot of banter, but we're already here, so let's keep going.
We're talking about modern games over $200, but not collector's editions, not special releases, just regular ass games like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2. And by modern, we mean like DS and up, let's say.
The last 20-ish years. So like 2004-ish, 2005, since we're at the beginning of 2025. We went back the last 20 years. And I don't know if modern is exactly the right term for that, because if you had told me, in 20 years past the NES, I was going to be like, yeah, these are NES to the next 20 years, like the PlayStation 1, these are all modern. I would be like, maybe not, but whatever. This is what we're going with. Modern-ish games. The DS, the 3DS, the Wii, the Wii U, the Xbox 360, Xbox One, the PS3, PS4, PS5, PSP, and PS Vita. These are the consoles that we're talking about.
All right. If you're going to ask me what I think of modern, I generally think Xbox 360 and up, because really that's when kind of like exclusives aren't as much of a thing and game design really changed a lot. And if I was really being a stickler, I think DS maybe belongs more in the older era than the newer era, because I do think DS is actually pretty collectively interesting and has a lot of interesting exclusives.
I would say whatever. DS is right on the cusp, but it also had a long history into this time frame. So do you know when the DS came out?
2004? 2005?
Do you know when the 360 came out?
2005? Oh, wow. I never even thought about that. Is the DS the same year as the 360?
No, it's a year before.
Okay,
so they both came out in November. So November of 2004 and November of 2005. So that's why we included the DS in there, because it was right on that bubble.
All right.
But yes, I agree that the 360 really does feel like modern, but for handhelds, the DS really feels like the point where we're changing, because the cartridge type is noticeably different. You have two screens, a touch screen. That was a very modern-esque thing to have like a touch screen on as you're getting in there, and then the 3DS obviously. So that's it. That's modern. Okay. So that's what we're calling it. And quibbles aside, I think that's a fine time frame to exhibit it. And you would think within the last 20 years of gaming, there would be some $200 games, right? Like if you went out in the year 2000, right? And you looked back at NES games, were there $200 NES games back then? Or let's say 2005. There was definitely...
Yes, there were $200
definitely
NES games in
$200.
2005, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, and Super Nintendo games, and they were coming along, and so it's a good time to check in and check on modern gaming. We don't talk about it a lot, but there has to be some collectible games there.
And
also,
YouTube keeps recommending me videos about people complaining about the state of video game collecting and resellers and all this stuff. For some reason, YouTube just thinks I'm super into this. I'm just like one of these people always out here complaining about prices. And if prices are so bad, Johnny, surely out of the thousands and thousands of video games released in the past 20 years, there must be more $200 games than we could possibly talk about. And they must all be super desirable, too.
They should be, because literally there are so many more games that were released in the last 20 years that was then released in the 20 years before that. If you go from 1985 to 2005 and look at the amount of games released versus 2005 to 2025, we have so many more games now.
Which is maybe a reason there aren't as many. So, we're obviously talking about this sarcastically. Like, there are not that many modern games that crest $200 that aren't like special editions of some kind.
Yes.
And a reason for that could be that there are so many fucking games now that it's really hard for any one game to stand out as special or rare. Whereas in the NES era, where there are so many people literally just collecting sets, everyone ended up with the same games they needed to finish their set, and that kind of like highlighted those as rare games. A lot fewer people are doing that with a console like the Nintendo Wii or the Xbox One.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a really good point. And to that point, I want to say what we are counting here for games, and again, not just collectors, like we're not counting collector's edition, but like if you really thought like, oh, I want to do a set of this game, then you needed to buy this game to have the set. You didn't need to go buy a collector's edition. You could to complete the set, but you could get the regular edition theoretically and then be good on your set. So that's what we're talking about. Think of it like that, because there's a lot of bullshit editions of games, especially as you get into the PS4, PS5. Like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X or whatever we're on now is, man, everything is collector's edition. Something, the collector's edition, the brothers edition, the mega deluxe edition, the go to church edition. There are so many editions, Tyler. It's stupid.
Yeah, the go to church edition, definitely.
So I want people to think whether I just made that up or if that's a real edition somewhere.
Okay, now you're getting me concerned that I don't know that.
Okay, don't worry about it right now. We'll see later.
So Johnny, as we're going through this episode, I want people to think of how many of these games, unless they were like hardcore, just set collecting a console, how many of these games would you actually want in your collection, either as a set piece or as just like on its own because it's cool? Because even when people were collecting sets, as if they don't now, but like in the, decades ago, games like Little Samson, games like Hagane, these are uncommon, rare games, but they're also expensive because they're like really cool games. It's not just like Barbie's 3DS game that is, getting hundreds of dollars because it's rare. There was an element of coolness to a lot of the rare games too. And I feel like maybe in the modern era, we are significantly missing out on cool games being expensive, which could mean either it means that games just aren't rare enough to be cool anymore, or there could be games that are cool, but people don't pay up for how cool they are because they're not the absolute rarest games you can get on like a DVD.
Yeah, just think about Earthbound. Think about how people are still nuts for Earthbound.
Exactly. Earthbound, not a rare game. People just pay up because it's cool. You're telling me there isn't any game on a modern system that's as, beloved and maybe a little bit uncommon as Earthbound that can't be pushed up to like $400? I mean, Earthbound's like, $3,000 complete in box now? What is Earthbound? Earthbound people are nuts.
They are, but I mean, the cachet is kind of gone. Like all the RPGs of old. Like even Chrono Trigger. Think about Chrono Trigger. People still want to pay for that.
It's the perfect RPG, Johnny. New video by a friend of the show who we have never talked to. Jason Graves just put out like a 1 or 2 hour long video about Chrono Trigger. And I know it's a game that you've probably played to death and everybody knows everything about it, but Jason Graves is one of our favorite YouTubers. And he does a good job covering everything about that game from a person who thinks about RPGs a lot.
I haven't watched that video. It's been on my to watch list, but I haven't got there yet. Did you watch it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good video that really goes into depth about why is Chrono Trigger such a good game that everyone's just like, oh, Chrono Trigger. I don't think he's done an Earthbound video yet. I can't wait for him to break down Earthbound and explain to me why people care about that as much. I get Earthbound to an extent. I get Chrono Trigger a lot more. Johnny, let's get into this episode before we go on a Jason Graves tangent here. And talk about games that are not as cool as Earthbound. Starting with the Nintendo Wii, we've got Atrovet a Sonar.
Ooh, that's one of my favorite games, Tyler. Tell me about that one.
That's a big box game that comes with a branded microphone based on a Mexican TV series. And it's sort of a combination of SingStar and Just Dance. So you have to do karaoke with the microphone and dance moves with the Wiimote. Hey, have you ever heard of this one, guys? You guys have all been waiting for Atrovet a Sonar.
I sure have heard of it because I collected the Wii set.
And we are starting the show with a showstopper because this game, the last copy that actually was in the big box with the microphone, sold for $450. 0 good copies on eBay. There is one kind of busted up complete in box one for $275.
Yeah, this game has always been kind of hard to find. I believe it's an exclusive from Mexico. And yeah, if you want that outer box and the mic, you have to pay. And then shipping to get it here is kind of hard. I don't know why it's always missing the manual, but that always seems to be gone as well. So yeah, it is the Wii game that's going to make you pay. There used to be other Wii games that used to really be the impediment, but now this is the set killer for the Wii. Not that I would actually call this a set killer. but hard to find and kind of expensive.
I mean, kind of expensive. This is almost the most expensive game we're talking about. And I realize there's a reason for that. It's also probably the rarest game we're talking about. Because it is a Mexican exclusive.
Yeah. No, we have one game on here that is...
Sure. I mean, maybe
there's a winner.
Okay.
There's a winner on here.
So if you show me this, one, I'm not going to know what it is. But two, once I figure out what it is, yeah, I'm pretty impressed that you have this. This one's actually pretty cool from just a pure collector brain, like, wow, that's rare and it's exclusive to a country that's not here. And like Mexican exclusives, they still have the ESRB logo, so it still kind of perfectly fits in with your set.
It's a North American game.
Yeah, it is.
Mexico's still part of North America, guys.
It is weird. Yeah, when you're collecting like a set, it's weird to kind of filter out the Mexican exclusives because sometimes you'll see like, oh, they were sold in like the southwestern United States. So everyone just kind of groups them in with the quote unquote the set.
Yep. And this is a long-standing tradition. If you go back to the Super Nintendo, you have issues of that going on as well.
I'm giving this a thumbs up.
Thumbs up? This is a cool one?
There are so few modern games that are genuinely rare. Like even the ones that have like super limited releases and stuff, like those are all super gettable. They're all over eBay. And this is genuinely kind of rare. So I'm giving this one a thumbs up. It's something you don't see every day.
And the other thing about this game isn't an exclusive, right? It's not on other consoles.
It is an exclusive game based on a Mexican TV show. But yes, it is technically an exclusive.
Yeah, that goes for something, especially in modern games when everything is cross-platform. That has to count at least a little, right?
What was that game you showed me recently on the Switch? Well, I want to do a whole episode on Switch exclusives. But yes, yes, I guess it does. There are more exciting exclusives on the Wii. The Wii hasn't melted down into completely like just a slop of everything's the same, like the Nintendo Switch, where it's all ports and conversions and remakes.
True.
So it's not as exciting to have a Wii exclusive.
The Wii is a unique console because it does house kind of a lot of exclusives.
Johnny, there's one more game on the Wii that is sometimes over $200.
Oh yeah? What is it?
It's Veggie World.
Oh.
Which I think is one of these games that's getting a boost from the rarer DS game, but then people are like, oh, this is rare on DS. Let's also get the Wii one. This is not a game that has only one copy on eBay.
This has always been a little bit expensive on the Wii, so it's been long-standing, but $200, I can't remember if my threshold on this game was it being over $200.
Yeah, this was definitely, in the pandemic, this shot up from like, $100 to $200 plus. This was just like, everyone needs to get the rarest games. You got to get all your stuff before it's gone forever. And despite everyone doing that, there's still like, there's not a ton of copies on eBay. I don't know. There's maybe like 6 and half of them are sealed. So they're not like ones that you're going to buy.
Yeah.
So.
Cool game.
Yeah. What is it? I don't know what Veggie World is. I would assume it's a 3D platformer.
It is a game that you can play, Tyler. It is, I don't know.
It's an action game where you control a strawberry-shaped spaceship that flies through broccoli-covered landscapes and turnip tree houses.
It's a shmup?
It's a shmup. Sure.
Best shmup on the Wii, Veggie World.
Is it? Wait, it actually...
Does this count as a
It might actually be a 2D shoot. It's 2D. I didn't expect that. It's a 2D shooter that used the Wiimote. Are you telling me
this is... I love cute-em-ups. Veggie World just went up in my opinion.
Guys, I think if you have a rare, expensive collectible shooter collection, Veggie World on the Nintendo Wii kind of deserves to be in there. Or you know what? If you have like one of these collections where you're like showing off all your Saturn games, oh, I got Hyper Duel, oh, I got Radiant Silvergun, and you got like that picture, like everyone used to have this picture in like 2009 where they showed off all their shooters because everyone used to collect 2D shooters, and now... I don't know when the last time I saw someone showing off all their 2D shooters, but if you're one of these guys who still has all these like hardcore shooter games, I want you to put Veggie World in with all your fancy expensive shooters because
Put it
it
right next
belongs
to
there.
Harmful Park.
But what?
All right. I said put it right next to Harmful Park.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's it for the Nintendo Wii. We got 2 games.
2 games. Oh, and also, if you guys are wondering why we picked $200, because I figured that was kind of the threshold, that if you're willing to pay $200 for it, it's kind of collectible. So that's just a random decision on my part. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Okay, so let's move on to the next console in Nintendo's modern library. Let's talk about the Wii U, because I know that there are a lot of Wii U collectors, and they go hard.
Johnny,
there are so many
all the
expensive
Wii U stuff is like weird, rare, fancy stuff like that.
Surprisingly collectible. Surprisingly collectible, Tyler, the Wii U is.
It's surprisingly collectible.
Unless you're just buying the base set.
What are you talking about?
If you're buying the base set of the Wii U, it's a barren wasteland of inexpensive games and easy to collect. It's easy to collect. That's part of the appeal of the Wii U, right?
I get so it's easy to collect, and then it has like 2 games that are like a little bit hard, like Turbo Stunt Squad and stuff. So you'll at least get like a little taste of collecting something uncommon, even if it's not really that uncommon anymore. like Turbo Stunt Squad used to not be on eBay, and now Turbo Stunt Squad, because people know it's like one of the less common Wii U games, it's all over eBay. Everyone is done collecting their Wii U set.
It's got big boxes. It's got some variants. It's got cool pack-ins. It's got different like system boxes. The Wii U has a lot of cool stuff that makes it's like the best easy to collect system there is, because it hits all the right notes for like feeling like you're doing the collector thing.
It does. It's the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest of full set collecting. Really eases you into it.
That is so mean. Why are you so mean?
I mean, it's not that wrong. It's not like a great set to collect. It does have all the things that make it a good set, though.
Yeah, and it's got like a couple of Nintendo Store exclusives. It's got some cool stuff, but in the base set, it's only Devil's Third, Tyler.
No, that can't be over $200, Johnny. That was like a meme game.
Nope. Tyler, I don't know if you know about the Devil's Third, but it was only released in GameStops, and I think there's only 1,000 of them.
Yeah, that was the news story when it came out. I swear to God, you could trace the entire price history of this game to like a single Twitter post. It was like a Twitter or a Reddit post, and it was a GameStop employee that showed that like only 600 copies of Devil's Third shipped to GameStops. And so people were saying, oh, they only made 600 copies of this game. And it was like a late release Wii U game. It was like Wii U was obviously dead. Like no one cared about the Wii U anymore. And so everyone thought this was going to be some super rare game. Everyone ran out to their GameStop to get the one copy they had available. They were all celebrating on Instagram. Like, I can't believe I got it. They did a huge reprint, or either they did a huge reprint or it was just like nowhere near as rare as people thought it was. And now there are dozens and dozens of copies on eBay, dozens and dozens in eBay sold. And it's not a game people think is like super cool. It's only expensive because people think of it as a rare game. And I just don't get it. It like the free market, the market forces of supply and demand should have pushed this back down to reality. But the demand for Devil's Third does not go away. I've seen people invest in sealed copies of this. Why?
There are a lot of graded copies that have sold. What's happening?
I think so. The thing is, going back to Wii U being the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest of video game full set collecting, I think people want there to be something at the top of the Wii U set. They want there to be like a rare, exciting game, even if there maybe isn't a rare, exciting game in the regular set. Which, hey, I've collected consoles that have basically no rare and exciting games. Like the Xbox set, there's like kind of nothing really exciting in the Xbox set. There's like a few like uncommon games, and that's it. And that's kind of the case on the Wii U.
Yeah, like Dreamcast collectors, we see you. We feel your pain.
Yeah,
We know that your set sucks and is boring.
Variants and like maybe some weird stuff. You kind of got to invent your own exciting thing when you're collecting a set like that. But man, I don't think Devil's Third deserves the positioning that the market has put it in, and it is by far maybe the most common game on this list.
Yeah, there's a lot of Devil's Third out there. Definitely a bottom third game on this list.
I like the Wii U. I wish the Wii U was maybe cooler than it is. So I'm sorry for if you feel like you got to pump up the Devil's Third to $300 to feel like it's cool.
I love the Wii U. I feel no shame in saying that. I love the Wii U. I enjoyed playing the Wii U. I had a good experience with it. I liked collecting it. I think the boxes look nice on the shelf. I like the Wii U.
And I should like the Devil's Third. I just don't care about third-person shooters. But it's an Itagaki game. It's like the guy who made the Ninja Gaiden remakes. Not remakes, I guess. The new Ninja Gaiden series. Like he makes cool games. It's very cool in Japanese. I just don't care about it at all.
Happens. Sorry, Tyler. Well, I think we can move on then and talk about one of the largest video game libraries there is, full of like any game you could possibly want to play. So there's got to be a lot of collectible games on it. I see lots of posts about this. There are a lot of collectors. There must be a lot of market demand. There has to be something going on with the Switch. Tyler, tell me anything about the Switch.
There's a lot of video games on it.
Okay. What are the expensive ones? Like how many are we got? Like 10, 20? How many we got?
I mean, all right, so like on Instagram, you see people like, oh, this advent calendar game. Oh, this game from this minor publisher. No one bought any copies of this. There's only one copy on eBay. This one's gonna be super rare. And what is it? We're at the end of the Wii U's life. We're 8 years now, right? So surely some of those games that slipped through the cracks people have figured out that they are as rare as they were hyped up to be. And like $200, I mean, that's a big mark, but it's not like the biggest mark. So surely a bunch of those games have reached $200 by now.
Gotta be. I mean, and with limited run games out there, there's gotta be a bunch of super collectible games, right?
Well, let's not be crazy.
Remember, because this is the first Nintendo console that really got like limited run stuff going for it.
Yeah.
So tell me about it, Tyler.
Johnny, there's one Wii U game.
No, not one. Tyler, there's gotta be more than one. No, Tyler, there's got to be more than one.
Besides collector's editions, there is one Nintendo Switch game, and it's a limited run games game. So, like, it's almost doesn't count, but it counts because they're just a big publisher. Shantae.
The biggest publisher in the world counts?
Yeah. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, a 3DS port.
Not a Shantae.
So, the reason this game is over $200 is because the non-limited run games 3DS version, I think, is like genuinely an uncommon 3DS game. And then they re-released it on Switch, which probably more common than the 3DS version. I didn't look this up. But the regular ass limited run games, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, are like $250 to $300. And that's mostly
and they
like
sell
sealed copies.
A lot. There are a lot for sale.
There are a lot for sale. And I think another thing that is pushing this up so high is that most limited run stuff, like they don't put limits on it anymore, especially for the desirable stuff that people are actually going to buy. But the collector's edition of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse was limited to 2,900 copies, which sounds like a lot, but in terms of limited run games, like people love the Shantae stuff. So that actually, the demand for that actually did outstrip the supply for that, which makes Shantae and the Pirate's Curse Collector's Edition, I think, probably the most expensive Switch game. And the status of that Collector's Edition has brought the regular version up to almost $300.
What is happening in this world?
Every other version of this game is worthless. PS4 limited edition, the 3DS reprint, the 3DS limited run games limited edition, every other version of this game is like $60 tops. But the Switch version is like almost $300.
This is okay. Okay, guys, you win. I can't fight you. Yeah, if you want that limited run 3DS version though, $40, Tyler.
Yeah, but that's not the Switch version.
Well, what if you wanted the PS5 version though? You could get it for $28.
Yeah, but the Switch one, I collect the Switch. This has got to be like one of the biggest disparities between similarly rare versions on different consoles. Like, I assume that the PS4 and PS5 version are somewhat comparable to the Nintendo Switch version, and the Switch one's like 10 times the price. Isn't that crazy?
It is weird. It makes it interesting. So I like this game because that makes it interesting. I don't think it's necessarily you should invest, because I think people could wake up tomorrow and not care, but it does make this version interesting.
Sure, it's interesting, and I think it's I haven't played any Shantae except the first, but it's a well-reviewed game. People do like this game. It's straight up good. I think Devil's Third might have like some kind of misunderstanding going for it. I feel like Devil's Third is probably a good game if you are like ready for a weird, over-the-top, stupid third-person shooter. And like I feel like it's exactly the kind of game that IGN would give a low score to and be like, this isn't as good as Call of Duty. They're totally different, because it's like made with Japanese audiences in mind. But I feel like Shantae and the Pirate's Curse is just like a straight up good game that IGN would just give a good score to.
So Shantae as a series is kind of interesting too, because I think the popularity of that was based on collectors and some players, right? Because remember, no one cared about Shantae. And then I woke up one day and people cared about the Game Boy Color version of Shantae. And then it just started to build from there, and collectors started to care about it, and it gained this life of its own. And then suddenly Limited Run came out with Shantae games, and it just took off from there. But this game used to just be this weird collector's item that was a bunch of money on the Game Boy Color, and it lived in obscurity, and that was the only way you could play it. And now it's everywhere, and there's like a gold cart version being released for the GBA, comes out like next month or in a couple months or something, that people have already bought from Limited Run Games. It's an interesting series. The life of it is interesting and how it got here.
Yeah, I guess what happened with Shantae? Did Shantae kind of force itself back into like the public conscience relevance with Risky's Revenge, or did people just was there any cachet to the Game Boy Color version before Risky's Revenge that led to Risky's Revenge getting made?
I think it was like known to be, it was one of those games that, and I want to do a whole episode on this, but like games that were almost worth the price, you know, and it was known to be expensive. Like people said, oh, this is a really good Game Boy Color platformer. And like it got some cachet, but like also collectors took a hold of it. I think collectors found it and players found it. And then Limited Run did its thing where they're like, okay, there's a game that we can kind of latch onto, that collectors see big dollar signs by it. And it was like their first push into that as an angle. And that helped gain some popularity, because then people are like, oh, a Shantae game, and that game's really popular and expensive, so we should buy this. And I think that all just kind of built on itself.
Like it's kind of weird. It's just because Risky's Revenge was that the Wii U one? Am I?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But what did Risky's Revenge come out on in 2010? DSi? Risky's Revenge was a DSi exclusive? What a weird world we live in.
Was it a download exclusive?
No, Half Genie Hero was the Wii U one. Okay. Anyway, let's do a whole separate thing on the history of Shantae. Maybe I'll play more of them.
Yeah, it would be interesting, like as we do. It might be interesting to do an episode on series that kind of came back to life.
I'm curious how much of it was demand for more Shantae games. How much of it was Matt Bozon just doing his thing and he's like, I want to make more Shantae games. And how much of it was like Limited Run Games hyping it up as like their premier series with all their random box sets and skateboard decks and just like all this bullshit. They like made Shantae into like this hype train.
Well, and this thing that they do, this is like the first instance of them attaching it, like there's a version of this game that's very expensive. Now you can buy it for a reasonable price. You know, that that line of thinking too, which I dislike, but it exists.
See, the funny thing is, literally, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, the same game we're talking about, they did that for the 3DS version. That went from a hundreds of dollars game to like a $60 game. And I'm not looking at variants. Maybe the original print still has some huge premium on it. But yeah, they took a game that's expensive, re-released it, and now it's cheap if you want it. And they took a game that didn't exist, and they released it, and it's $300. It's a port. It's probably the best version, though.
I hope so.
That's it. This is the only game that Switch people have to be excited for in the standard set. And I don't know, it maybe makes me a little bit sad that it's a limited run game, and this is the one that actually made it. There's not a single game from a regular publisher that has broken through the glass ceiling of $200.
It is a little bit sad. The Switch, I love the Switch, but man, it's not a good look for a system that's on at the end of its life cycle, and there's not like a regular $200 game out there. I mean, as far as being a collectible piece,
it's a modern console. Like usually in the way the old world used to work, a console would have to go through a period of like 10 years of no one caring about it before anyone started collecting it and caring about it. And Switch is weird because it came out day one and people are like, I'm going to collect the Nintendo Switch and get every game that comes out. So it is kind of an anomaly.
So is the Nintendo Switch a success then? Did we do it?
Is it no, I don't think the Nintendo Switch is a success. I think that collectors have just gone off the deep end. And
no, like, is this a return? Is this a return though? Since nothing broke $200, do we have to wait 10 years for it actually to be collectible like we used to have to? Are we going back to the olden days?
I see. At this point, I don't think that can't be what's going to happen. I think the thing that is going to spike Nintendo Switch prices in the future, we're not going to have enough time for it to go through its kind of natural cycle of everyone like stopping carrying. Like one or two Nintendo consoles down, everyone will be like, Nintendo Switch. Kind of like how people feel about the Wii U now. They're like, that's just like old common shit. Or like the Wii. I think that physical video games will stop being produced, and that will kind of short circuit the cycle, and everyone will start buying up Nintendo Switch games again.
Yeah. It's going to be wild once we go digital. I can't wait to see what happens to video games there. Do people just set, like, I think there's going to be a massive surge where everyone buys it, but then will we get to the point where just no one cares and then everything will find its way to the bins after 20 years?
I don't know.
Exciting
it's going to be crazy.
Exciting time. I look forward to the day that we get to talk about that.
Johnny.
Right. Yeah.
The Nintendo DS came out in 2004 or 2005.
Yep, sure did.
I think 2004.
November of 2004.
With such hit games as Feel the Magic XXXY and what else? It was Pac Pix. Was that one of them? The Nintendo DS had like no games for like a solid year. I remember. And then I think Nintendogs and Advance Wars Dual Strike came out in the same month. And then everyone decided like, oh, wait, actually, this system's awesome. And then we got nothing but good games for like 7 straight years.
The DS is quite a console. It's got like 1,700 games on it. It had a nice, healthy life. And it had a large amount of variety, obviously, because it had 1,700 games. But a lot of exclusives, too. A neat system. And even if it wasn't an exclusive, it was an exclusive way to play a game. So it did a lot of interesting things.
And out of all the consoles we're going to talk about, it's got the biggest and most varied list of games over $200.
It sure does. Oh, and they're legitimately over $200. It's not like some weird thing had to happen. It's just like, yeah, people collect these and buy them, and they are kind of expensive. And if we went into games that were just over $100, this list grows to be quite big, but thankfully we kept it at $200.
Starting off with Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Both of these pretty solidly over $300, maybe $320. Complete in the box with the Pokewalker, which is the standard way this game was released in America. It's not like a special edition that you had to buy. If you got the special edition, you got the little Ho-Oh and Lugia plastic figurines. So this is it. This game is super common. and it's just expensive because people love these games. And because the Pokemon hype right now is out of control and unreasonable. But, that doesn't always extend to the games that are newer than this. $300 for a DS game. That's like these are probably in the top 10 most common DS games and the top 10 most expensive. That is how much people love these games.
People, they are expensive, and poof. Yeah. Pokemon going crazy. We didn't talk about it at the top of the show, but the new set came out for Pokemon, and people were going nuts. There was a special, like, kind of box set called, like, Blooming Waters or something in Costco's. If you haven't seen the videos, there's, like, people fighting each other at Costco's. It was madness on the release. I told you my buddy owns a store, and this was Prismatic Evolutions. It was like an Eevee set or something, and man, he had 300 people lined up at his store ready to buy boxes, and going for, like, he didn't sell them at over market price, but there are people out the door selling them at 300% of market of, like, suggested retail. It was crazy. Pokemon is crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah, I'm appreciative that there's that kind of hype happening in a different collecting market than ours. I would probably... So we're talking about, like, oh man, almost nothing's over $200. I would feel like so much worse if people were going to buy, like, the latest video game and it was, like, spiking 4 times in value out the door. And there's just that much hype around video games. I can't imagine being involved in a hobby like that. And I think... like, there's a really big split in Pokemon with, like, people who collect old cards versus people who collect modern cards, and both sides kind of look down on each other, which is crazy to think. Like, there are people who only collect, like, modern hype Pokemon cards, and they look down on the Wizards of the Coast era. Like, it's boomer shit, and they produced 1 million of all those cards, and it's all that shit, and they only want, like, the modern hype, super holographic rare shit. I'm just happy that's in a different hobby than our hobby. Here we only look down on Wii U
the frames. Did you hear they unified the frames? So no more yellow frames?
I don't even know what that means.
So the borders on the cards were yellow, if you remember Pokemon cards, for a long time. And now they are all silver. So unify the global look of them, because Japan had all the, like, silver border. And now the basic Pokemon cards all have silver borders. The yellow era of Pokemon is over.
Oh. That's a big jump. This is just like when Magic the Gathering stopped looking cool and good. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, if the Japanese were the original ones and these all look like the Japanese version, isn't that making them not dumb?
Didn't they change? They changed the back of the cards too. They changed it from, like, a blue to kind of a gold, right?
I don't know, Tyler. The fact that I know this much is...
Yeah, all right. I'm impressed with your Pokemon trading card game fact. I think they changed the back from the back that they used to have in the 90s, and I think they actually made it uglier, which, I don't know. I have to imagine that the Japanese ones they used to say Pocket Monsters on, they used to have, like, the Japanese logo on them. Do you think they changed that to Pokemon at some point? I
don't know. I know that frame, wasn't that, like, blue? Didn't it say, like, wasn't it, like, blue and white striped or something? The Pocket Monsters one? Anyways, it doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about it. It
really doesn't matter. But I'm looking up a PSA graded card right now, and yes, the Japanese one has this ugly gold frame, which, sure.
All right.
Johnny.
Anyways, the Pokemon Evolutions, Prismatic Evolutions, going 3x market price, or at least 2x, and selling thousands of copies the last couple days on TCG Player, and people lined up outside of stores everywhere.
And all right, so if you're staking $300 for a copy of Soul Silver or something, that's like, I mean, this game was probably only like $40 when it came out, because we used to see handheld games as sort of lesser, so even like a big game like this might have only been $40. So it's less than a 10x increase. So you're looking at, like, in the realm, like, if you're getting like 4x price increases for a thing that just came out today on Pokemon trading cards, and you're looking at a 20-year-old very beloved DS game, and they're in the realm of the same price increase, I think this has to be a thumbs up. Even if this is the absolute most common game we're going to talk about, It's the last mostly 2D Pokemon game. It's 3D, but it's got all 2D sprites, I think. And even though the overworld is 3D, I think it also has 2D sprites in the overworld. It's a very cool and good-looking game. And Johnny, it's my favorite Pokemon game, which is why it's definitely worth the price.
Oh, no, I'm in on this, and I like that it comes in a big box and a Pokewalker, so it stands out. Yeah.
And gold and silver are such cool colors to have as like the big important games on your shelf.
Yeah.
I realize that they're remakes.
They stand out.
They're remakes. This is Tyler. Tyler is telling you to buy remakes. That is how good these games are. I hate remakes.
We're doing it. Yeah. So go out and get these. These, yeah, I like these too. All right. What else is over $300 on the
Shepherd's
DS, let alone
Crossing
$200
2.
because we have multiple $300 games.
Really, DS is like the big daddy console of the modern era, Johnny. Yep. Shepherd's Crossing 2, for whatever reason, has always been at the top of the DS set. And maybe it is just that rare. But man, contrast this to Pokemon, who cares?
I hate this game so much. I've bitched about it on the show before. I have it on my watch list. I've had it on my watch list for years, and I just to watch the price. And there's someone always asking like $1,000 for it, $500, and I'm just like, who is buying this? Are there any in the solds, Tyler? Has anyone even bought this?
Yes, there are. There's one sold copy in eBay where someone did spend $300 on it, and then there's 8 more copies, all kind of nice, for around $300, which means this is not like super rare in the sense of some of these games that reach this price. Because usually if I told you like, oh, there's 4 copies of this rare game on eBay, and you go look and it's like, okay, this one's wrecked, 2 are missing the manual, and one of them is good and overpriced. There's not really 4 copies on eBay, but here there's genuinely 8 copies, 4 nice complete in box and 4 sealed copies. And who cares about this game? I think, man, if I had to imagine, there are not that many farming sims that came out in this era before like Stardew Valley really, really exploded the genre. And now I log into Steam every day. There's a new farming sim for me to play. Maybe this was like a cooler genre. It's like, oh, it's a farming sim, but it's not Harvest Moon. Is that some of the appeal? Is it like an interesting genre that people really like?
Tyler, I don't know. This game, according to price charting, sells like 1 every month.
Which is like, that's a decent clip. That's not like as common as some of the things, but it's not like, oh man, how am I ever going to find this game?
But you know, when you look in solds and you like look at a game and it's like $500 or $300 and there's like 2 and the last one sold in like 2018 and you're like, ugh, I got to look out for this one. That is not Shepherd's Crossing.
Yeah, it's not. It's a sequel to a PS2 game, which may be interesting. So there's no Shepherd's Crossing on DS, right? It's just the PS2 game.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
And it's got a stupid cover. Just it's so dumb. And who's it done by, like Graffiti or something? And their logo is obnoxious. Just, I hate this game. I hate
Johnny,
this game so much.
I've got some really good suggestions for you.
Oh, okay.
In fact, Super Nintendo Harvest Moon, I think that's expensive, right? That's in the realm. It's like a little under $1,000. So forget that. That's a bad suggestion. Instead of this, get a complete in box Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town on the GBA and a complete in box Harvest Moon 64 on the Nintendo 64 for the same price, and you will have 2 great games that everyone cares about more than Shepherd's Crossing 2.
How about if you just bought Harvest Moon on the PS2 or on the GameCube?
I don't know. We're living in different realities. I guess I've only played so many Harvest Moon games I think maybe it's like Madden or Pokemon. Everyone kind of has their favorite. If you're asking me, it's Harvest Moon 64, Johnny, but I don't know how many people are on board with me with Harvest Moon 64 being the game.
No idea.
And I don't want to tell you to buy a Harvest Moon Super Nintendo cart because obviously a rare complete in box game is not really would not be substituted by a very desirable loose cartridge. But I do think 2 desirable complete in box Harvest Moon games would be better than Shepherd's Crossing 2.
Yeah. Harvest Moon. You can buy Harvest Moon 64 complete in box for under $200.
What a deal!
You can buy the PAL version of Harvest Moon complete in box for $150.
Not a deal.
You can buy Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color for $100.
Johnny, I'm going to ranker.com, the place where normies, I guess, vote on their favorite things in series. We're looking for the Ranker Harvest Moon to see what the normies think. At the top of the list,
Rune Factory.
With 1,857 votes, it is Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town for the GBA, a game you can get complete in box for $80. That's the one you should buy. And actually, it's followed by A Wonderful Life on GameCube and Back to Nature on the PS1. And then Harvest Moon 64. You see, look at the top 4 are the 4 games we recommended, Johnny. So you know what? We did a good job. You're right.
All right. We did it. Hooray! Don't buy Shepherd's Crossing or do and show it to me and then tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I've been wrong about this game for 10 years.
Rather than buy a game in a genre that has been completely done to death now in the modern age, you can get a more classic genre, I think. A genre that has traditionally been one of the most collectible genres. A genre that maybe doesn't sell as well as like the more common genres like your RPGs and FPS. A 2D shooter. Such as...
Tell me more.
Veggie World on the Nintendo DS.
I told you, I was out before. I'm in. Once I realized this was a 2D shooter, I watched some game footage. It doesn't look great. It looks a little slow, but I'm in. I'm here for it. Do it. I like Veggie World
I think this is a 2D shooter in terms of like you're a 6-year-old tapping things with the stylus while an airplane rolls around. So I think we're talking 2D shooter in a loose sense here.
Yes.
But this game is $300, and this game I think is rarer than the Wii version. This is kind of like, this is the original. This is the one that people were hyped about before the Wii version got expensive.
I don't know, because I put in Veggie World DS, and I just got 131 results on eBay. So clearly, that's not a mistake,
the
right?
eBay algorithm is super good, and is definitely telling you the truth right there.
Okay, cool. Just making sure that I didn't make a mistake here.
So by my count, there were 3 complete and 1 sealed. I'm only calling it complete if it's like a real complete one that I would actually buy. So there's 3 complete and 1 sealed, and then there were 2 completes in sold. So it's like rare, but not insane. What I did notice is that there are a lot of cartridges, and I wonder how much of this rarity is because the game is rare, and how much of it is just because Veggie World is exactly the kind of game you would give to an 8-year-old and they would immediately destroy the packaging or just like throw it out and put their game in like a bookcase type thing. And it seems like it's a little bit of the latter.
It's also a Maxim family game. So it was like the Maxim games were like rare on the Wii, and this is another one of those. And they've made some rare Switch games. It's one of my least favorite companies to buy a game from.
Yep. But, I mean, same thing about Veggie World. I mean, what are we going to say about Veggie World DS? Do I think it's cool? No.
It's a little interesting.
I would rather you buy Shepherd's Crossing 2 over Veggie World.
No.
Shepherd's Crossing 2 is a fucking exclusive, and it's a good genre.
No, you stop that right now.
Yeah.
You
That is not also me propping up Shepherd's Crossing. That's me saying that Veggie World is kind of a stupid thing to spend $300 on.
The other thing about DS games is that they are faked a whole lot, so you have to be careful when you buy a DS game. If you're buying cart only, like, be very careful.
Don't buy cartridge only DS games. I mean, they fake complete in box ones, but like, I don't.
Well,
I'm not here to be an expert on how to tell you to spot fake DS games because
it's very hard.
Why there are a lot of loose cartridges.
Why are there so many carts? Yeah. So I'm just saying, if you thought, be careful. If you're like, I think I'll buy a cart then and maybe check it out. Just maybe slow down on that and make sure you take a good look. Okay. That's all.
Johnny, I want to move on to the opposite end of the spectrum here. So Veggie World, at least in part, is rare because it's the type of game that people bought, gave it to kids, and they threw out the packaging, and so it's kind of hard to find a complete box copy. Let's talk about a game that people bought and immediately put away in their, oh, this is going to be valuable one day bookcase.
I don't know. This is a classic genre. This is a classic genre. People really want this.
Solota Robo on the Nintendo DS is around $290. And man, not only are there a lot of these, but they're all sealed. Because it's the exact game that tricks collectors into buying it. It was made for collectors.
It sure was. I feel like this is the game that Reddit likes best.
Absolutely. Everything about this appeals to collectors. It comes in the big box. It's like not a big box. It's just like a little bit bigger, and it includes a soundtrack. And the box art has like a furry character, like an anthropomorphic wolf wearing like a military suit, I think. and it's the sequel to a hidden gem on the PS1, Tail Concerto. So it's got like everything going for it, and it just reminds me so much of the PS1 Lunar games, because they had the same exact thing going on. They had like a standard, like here's a Japanese game, it's a Japanese RPG, but everything about it, like we're just presenting it in just the most collectory way. Oh, you want the soundtrack? Oh, you want the extras? Oh, you want the box to like really stand out on your shelf? We got you. Everyone's going to think you're so cool for having this game. And that's exactly the same vibe Solota Robo on the Nintendo DS hits. And as soon as this was released, people were talking about it was going to be a collectible game, and I thought they were full of shit, and they're not. They were right.
They willed it into existence. I think the Reddit game of the show needs to be an award we hand out.
The Reddit game of the show. I mean, this is it right now.
Yeah, this is it. This is that's the award that we know people on Reddit are going crazy for. Like, if there's a game that Reddit loves, this is it.
All right, epic Reddit game goes to Solota Robo on the DS. An action RPG? What? I don't even. What is Solota Robo?
Do you think I would put this into my Google? Ugh. Safe search on.
I went to a wiki page to find the genre, and I hit a story section that's like divided into many chapters, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care that much.
Nope. Let's talk about another weird one, shall we? What do we know about Power Bike? You ever heard of this game?
Is this a game that, like, yes, I've heard of Power Bike, and I know it's one of the rarest DS games, but is it one that was, like, maybe found a little later into the DS's lifespan? Because I remember, did this game, like, spike up overnight? That's basically what I'm asking. I remember never hearing about it, and then all of a sudden it was, like, $200.
So there was all these secret DS games, and like Shepherd's Crossing was one of them, and Power Bike was one of them. And then I think people started to find out about it. It's a Majesco game. I don't know how it achieved its status or if there was like a big bump. I just know that it was always on like the secret list of games that you should be looking for. And yeah, Power Bike sure is a game.
So according to price charting, this game did not sell many copies, because I see like the price gets stuck at the same price for months at a time. And then in 2020, I don't know what happened in 2020. Do you remember? It went from $19 to $200 in the span of like 6 months.
So I'm going to say even before 2020, it was more expensive than that. So I think maybe some people would buy them, but people were talking about it being rare and hard to find before 2020.
Yeah, it could just be, the price charting data. What are we going to do about it? Yeah. But
oh man. So I did. All right. So I know we gave our Reddit game of the show to Solota Robo over there, but there is a Reddit post from 5 years ago that says Holy Grail, and it's a picture of 5 copies of Power Bike.
I don't think we can give it to Power Bike over Solota Robo, because Power Bike does not feature a furry protagonist.
That's true. I know there's a certain contingent that would love this. And yeah, so in this Reddit post, someone's saying like, damn, this game sells for over $800 sometimes on eBay. This is 5 years ago.
That
so,
sounds like he saw a buy it now that no one had purchased.
Yeah.
Like, what could that possibly mean?
I am not trusting anything that is said on Reddit. So, he does say sold. Well, anyways, but who cares? Power Bike sure is a game. I don't recommend buying this game. This is not the thing.
It is a 3D racing game where you're on a motorcycle, believe it or not. I thought based on the name it would be a 2D sort of trial bike game, but no, it looks much more boring than that.
Nope, it is. You know, you are on the center of the screen on the bike. It's very, very boring. It's been featured in articles, though, about the rarest DS games.
Whoa.
So
I think it's the rarest one we've talked about. So there's 2 sealed on eBay, 2 good complete in box, and then there's 1 in solds, which for a modern game, that is pretty rare. For a game in general, I would say that's not that rare. Johnny, tell me about the next one.
And I think all these 3DS games...
I don't know, man.
Well, I was going to say, I think all these 3DS games have trended down, because there used to actually be more... or not 3DS, DS games. They've trended down a little bit in the last 2 years, as most games have. Because this list used to be bigger, of over $200 games. The next game, though, I will tell you about is Coraline. This is a game that has been steady, has not felt the dip of time. It has only steadily increased as things have gone along. Coraline, Tyler, a game that is on my buy list, and when I realized I didn't have the DS copy and I went and I looked at the price, I wept a little. Because it's around $275, $250, and it's not that uncommon. I mean, it's uncommon, but it's not impossible or anything. But it sells regularly. It's not like this isn't happening. It's just a beloved game, or it's a beloved series, and people like the game. It's on the Wii, and it's also on the PS2, and those are both a little expensive, but this one is probably twice the cost of those at least.
Johnny, what the hell are you talking about? Coraline.
What do you mean, what am I talking about? Yeah.
Johnny, I've heard of Power Bike. I've heard of Shepherd's Crossing 2. I've heard of Veggie World. Believe it or not, I've heard of Pokemon. Coraline DS is a $300 game? What are you talking about?
Tyler,
who cares? It's not even rare. This isn't even in the realm of all the rare games we're talking about. There's a bunch of copies of this. People just want it.
You might be shocked to know that I was also very surprised by the price of this game. When I looked, I was like, what do you mean $200? Was exactly my reaction.
Mediocre reviews across the board. So it's not like people want it because it's a great game. People want it. And it's not like people want it because it's a super rare game. People want it because it's a Coraline game. That's the only explanation.
Yes. People love the Coraline people love Coraline, all right?
I will fight you on this. Who cares about Coraline? And you'll just be like, Tyler,
my
people
wife
care about
is
Coraline.
a Coraline person.
I know!
Dude.
And they're obviously out there because there is no explanation for this game being $300 fucking other than that.
I want you to... So, I bought my wife Coraline shoes because Converse did a thing for their 15th anniversary. I know you don't care about 15th anniversaries. Most people don't. Anyways, they released these Coraline shoes. I bought her some, and she doesn't really wear Converse, and she was like, okay, I'm going to wear these because I love Coraline so much. She has never felt so cool in shoes in her life. People come up to her and talk to her every time she has these damn shoes on. We were in stupid Costco and some girl just came up and started talking to her about her shoes. Tyler, it's happened multiple times. It just signals a certain group of people. They're like, oh, you're a Coraline person. And they all come and they find each other. And then they hug and love Coraline.
All right, so I don't hate this because I think there are games on this list like Solota Robo that are just stupid hype and, oh, it's an anime furry game and it looks nice. And there's Power Bike, which is oh, it's rare, but it's also the hyped rare game. And the price of Coraline is just pure demand and pure love. So I'm in. I'm not going to buy it, but I think it is out of... We're talking about, a couple dozen games in this entire episode? This is a game in the vein of, a Little Samson or Hagane, where a lot of the reason its price is so high is just because people fucking want it. And the game is Coraline DS. People just want it. So I kind of appreciate it.
Yeah. Look, I have to buy it. It's on the list to buy. It's
12 copies on eBay right now.
I'm waiting. I've got a like on a couple of them, hoping someone sends me an offer that isn't $250. Very upsetting.
I hope you get it, Johnny.
Me too. Thanks, Tyler.
Johnny, next on our list, we've got Commando Steel Disaster.
Mm-hmm.
This is another one of those Xseed games like Solota Robo. If you don't know what this is, it's the red game with the blonde anime guy holding a gun on the front. You might have seen it before. I have no idea what this game is, but when I see the cover, I'm like, oh, that's one of those anime games that people like on the DS. And it's like $200 or $300. And there's 5 completes on eBay, 5 and sold, so it's kind of like out there. It's just like one of these Xseed games that people are like, oh, it's an anime game that's kind of rare. We gotta buy these.
So is it related to Commando at all? Doesn't it play a little like Metal Slug? Or am I wrong about that?
I just described the box art to you because that is the only thing I know about the game. Apparently, yes, it's a run and gun game.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I don't know if it's part of the original Commando line though. So is this linked at all to Commando that was on the NES?
No, it looks exactly like Metal Slug. Maybe that has something to do with it. People like their Metal Slug games.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious. So like, does this link to Commando, which was also a run and gun game back in the day?
No. I'm just gonna say no.
You're just gonna say no? You don't know.
I'm gonna say no. The sequel to Commando is Mercs. So this is not like this is Commando 2.
And the second sequel, Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3.
There is no
Xbox
game
Live.
called Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3. Get the fuck out of here. What?
Yeah, it was
What
released
is it?
as
There's
a
an
downloadable.
Xbox Live Arcade exclusive sequel to Commando?
Well, it's not an exclusive. It was also on PSN.
Okay, yes, there's a download exclusive. So there's this game. It's been lost to time. You can't get this game anymore. You guys are all missing out on Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3. That is kind of sad. Just games out there that you can't play anymore, no matter what.
Yeah, it's gone. But doesn't look like it's tied to this. Oh, well.
All
okay.
right. That's Commando Steel Disaster. I don't care about it. You know, it's a cool genre. I'm still not going to be excited if you buy it.
It looks good. Like, it looks nice. The graphics are nice. It's got that. It definitely has that Metal Slug look to it. They were going for it.
Johnny, speaking of games that I won't get excited if you buy, let me know if you can guess why this Atlas game is also around $200. Super Robot Tyson OG Saga Endless Frontier in the big box with the soundtrack.
Yeah. Sure is a game.
Yeah, people see that game and they're like, wow, that's a really stupid name for a video game, and it has anime people, and it's Atlas, which is why it's $200 now.
Is it mechs? It feels
There
like
you go.
mechs.
It's a tactical role-playing mech game. You got it.
Fucking hate it. No, thank you.
There it is. It's kind of the same thing. So it's got the Solota Robo thing going on where they're like, oh, if we put a soundtrack and make it a big box, it seems cooler. The problem is the box art and the name of this game are so uncool. The only thing cool about the front of this game is the Atlas logo, which people love. So not as cool as Solota Robo. Spend the extra $90 on Solota Robo, I'm going to say. Also, this is a dozen plus on eBay. This is not as rare as most of the games on this list.
Be careful when you buy it though, because it does come in a box, like an outer box with the game in there. And a lot of people don't have the inner box or the outer box with the CD soundtrack in there. And they're just selling but it came with the outer box and everything. So if you're going to buy this one, at least buy the right version, because the extra cost isn't so great. So don't buy the wrong copy of this.
Well, actually, so I'm wrong about this. So I'm wrong in saying like, oh, there's a dozen copies on eBay. There's only like 4, and all of them are asking over $500, because all the ones that are like available and kind of cheap, and cheap, we're talking like $50, I think. Those don't have the outer box, But if you want this to be actually complete, then right now your only option is spending like $500 on a sealed copy. So maybe there is something to this. I still think it's just a dumb Atlas game and people overhype Atlas games.
So
sorry for the Atlas fans. I just don't think that every single game that they publish needs to be like the most collectible game ever made.
This is the last of our DS games, but I did want to say just about like after you breach that $200 threshold and start hitting like that 1 to 150, and there's a lot more DS games that start to show up, and there's some interesting ones in there. The DS has a pretty interesting library, especially of games over $150. So take a look and see like what the rare games are on the DS. It's kind of interesting when you look at like that $100 to $200 range. You're like, there is some stuff on this system that is pretty interesting. So take a look. Good stuff out there.
It's a cool console.
Interesting. It is.
If you told me that the Nintendo DS was the best system ever made, I would think you're wrong, but I wouldn't like hate your choice like some other consoles. Like if you say the Dreamcast is the best console ever made, I just assume that you only played video games from like 1998 to 2002. It's the only explanation.
Yes. All right. The 3DS, Tyler, which I forgot to put in the doc until later, so we didn't do a ton of research on this, but I can tell you some things on it. There's not a ton of games, but there is one particular series which dominates this list, and I don't know why, and I don't really know anything about this. I remember when the first one came out, and it was very popular. We'll get to that, though. But the one, and as I alluded to earlier in the show, the one that is kind of the rarest and commanding the toppiest of tip-top dollars, and y'all know it, it's Barbie Groom and Glam Pups. So, is it a Canadian exclusive? What's the story with Barbie? I'm unsure. You can buy a DS copy of this game for $20, and it's pretty much the same game. But you want it on the 3DS? Welcome to thousands of dollars territory. You're going to pay, I think one go for like $1,500, and I think I went, that's a reasonable price. But if you look at what people want you to pay for it, like regularly what they're asking is over $2,000, which is insane.
What?
So,
what are we talking about here? What? That Wii game is like $450, like unavailable. Like there's one copy that's busted. I know this game is also rare, but like we're getting into like NBA Elite 11 territory, like complete unobtainium, a game that basically wasn't released for a game. Like there must have been at least like bare minimum, at least like 1,000 to 2,000 copies. And I imagine more than that were produced. This wasn't like some ultra limited recalled thing. This isn't stadium events. Like these are out there somewhere. And for whatever reason, this specific game you can't find on the secondary market at all. But like, come on, it cannot be as rare. It cannot be $3,000 rare. I refuse to believe that.
So let me tell you how many copies exact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies are available right now, ranging from 2,500 up to someone asking 5,000 for an 8.5 one. Like, just pull that. Who gives a shit about an 8.5? Get out of here. Anyways, and then there's 2 cart onlys for $500. So you can get this. Like I said, you can go get it. It's available. There's Australian versions. There's PAL versions. It's like I don't know why that we let this get out of hand, but yeah, someone's paying this money for it.
All right, so the DS game is like $10 sealed. Like no one wants the DS game. So the move is you buy a sealed copy of the DS version and then put it on your upper shelf with like all your other cool games, like with your Earthbound and your little Samson, and you have the DS version of Barbie Groom and Glam, and like at least 30% of people are going to be tricked by that. That's the move.
So one sold for about $1,100 without the manual. That's it.
Oh man, can you imagine spending $1,100 for an incomplete Barbie game? Yes. Maybe they already had the manual, but if you didn't have the manual, that would be brutal.
They didn't. Come on. Maybe the Canadian, or maybe the French manual is exactly the same. Who knows?
Or you just put in like the DS manual.
Yeah, just like who cares? But yeah, this is the game. You want to go spend that money on it? Yeah, I have thought many times about completing my 3DS set. It's not that big a set, and I have a lot of them. And I look at Barbie, and it is a true set killer because I cannot imagine spending this much money on it. Like, I spent $1,500 on Rusty. Do you know how much worse I would feel if I spent $1,500 on Barbie Groom and Glam Pups?
Yeah, Johnny, this game is so anomalous in terms of modern video games. Like, there just aren't games like this that cost $2,000. Like,
No,
every single console we're going through,
relic.
we're talking like $300 gets you like the top game on almost any console, and like some like the super rare weird stuff is like $1,000. And this is a Barbie 3DS game. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. We say a lot of things are crazy. The amount of the quality of game you could get from like the 80s and 90s for $2,000 or $3,000, you could get virtually any good game you want. I mean, there's some like, you can't get like a mint condition little Samson complete in box. Like, okay, there are some games you can't get, but almost anything you want. If you don't want literally the most hyped up thing ever, you can get anything. And people are choosing to buy Barbie on the 3DS.
Can you get Flintstones 2 for $3,000? You can buy anything on the Super Nintendo.
Joe just got the lowest serial number Myriad 6-in-1 for less than $4,000. So you're in the realm. You're talking about a Flintstones 2, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But you bought Barbie? Please get the fuck out.
Johnny, I basically completed my video game collection. I got the last thing that I really, really, really wanted. Ultima 1, and I got it for like half the price of this Barbie game. And I spent a long time looking for the right copy of that.
I mean, Rusty, how long did I have that on my save search? We talked about it so much. And yeah, okay. I understand the pain though. If you're a set collector and you got to complete that set, you choked this one down. You weren't happy about it, but you did it. And the worst part about this being the top of your set list, like you can show it off and there's going to be a bunch of people like who are just into the money amount and be like, oh, that's cool. Awesome. This is an expensive game. Yeah. And then there's going to be a lot of people who are just like, fucking Barbie. Cool. Great. Good for you.
Is there an inordinate amount of 3DS set collectors that are pushing this up? Like, what is the reason? Because, like, the set killers, like, Power Bike, like a game like that, like $250 for the quote unquote, like one of the set killers. That's like pretty reasonable in a set as hard as the DS already is.
Yeah.
Like, what's is it that, here's my theory. There are like the old school set collector guys who have everything. They already have all the old games. They don't care about Super Nintendo. They finished their Super Nintendo set in 2011. And all of them were collecting 3DS, like kind of contemporaneously as the 3DS came out, or maybe a little bit after. And all of them got stuck on Barbie at the same time. And since they're all these old head collectors in their 40s and 50s, this specific type of collector was just like, it's the last game I need. Let's just push it up. And because all these old guys are hitting on this one Barbie game, it's just like this complete anomaly in video game collecting right now.
Could be. I mean, and that one without the manual sold for $1,100. I don't think the manual adds another $2,000 to this game. And people are even like, there's some CIBs at like $2,400. So we'll see. And that's best offer. Like, I'm sure this guy in Canada, if you offered him $2,000, maybe he moves on it. And if you didn't, that would seem weird to me because what are you doing? How many people are left who actually need it? Yeah, it's got to be propped up by set collectors though. You're right about that. And yeah, I think you're probably right. Because I was one of these guys who was like, I bought a lot of DS games. Maybe I'll just like complete the set. And I went on and I bought some dumb stuff. And then like Barbie did kind of kill it for me. It was a true set killer. I was like, oh, I'll never spend that much money on a Barbie game. Like if I find this for a reasonable price, it could get me back into 3DS, but it would have to be something magical would have to happen. But yeah, this is the game that'll kill you.
Is this the most expensive, like, quote unquote, modern Grail?
Yes.
Like, besides, like,
we're
NBA
going through
Elite
the list,
is more
and this
expensive.
is it.
I think maybe like Uncharted Fortune Hunter Edition is more expensive. Maybe there's like some special edition kind of stuff, but this is but up there in terms of modern games, all timers.
And that games you need to complete a set. This is it.
Oh, in terms of games you need to complete a set, in terms of relative value compared to average game in a set, this is like the number one, right?
It's like NBA Elite and this. These are the games. Like,
These are the and
even Poop Slinger isn't this.
going back, Poop Slinger's not even close to this, which is a weird thing to say, but like both in terms of like its genuine rarity and desirability. Yeah, this is better than Poop Slinger.
Yeah.
Like when you think of like these people going to Costco going nuts on like Pokemon cards that are produced in like the billions, and you think of like the stuff they push up to be the most valuable. It's like, oh, look at this like super cool Charizard. Oh, look at this Pikachu that you could only get from like the Japanese online Pokemon store in Japan. Oh, look at this Moonbreon, whatever the Umbreon is, and like, oh, it's got the full art. And then you look at the video game collecting space, and we just are like absolutely just like shitting all over ourselves with like, we have the dumbest grails. We have like absolutely the dumbest grails, especially in modern.
That's what I used to say about Nintendo, right? I'm like, why isn't our Mario and our Zelda, our good stuff, the stuff that's expensive? So careful what you wish for, Tyler, because these things can change.
We'll see. I would definitely take a wait and see stance on the Barbie 3DS game. Johnny, tell me about more. There's more than just Barbie on 3DS.
Yeah. So, and then the rest of them are all one series of game. And I don't know about this series. I don't know what's going on with this game. I just know that I bought them because someone's like, you should buy these games or else. There's one game not in this series, which I'll talk about real quick because let's talk about the rest of them together. Hey, you ever heard of Alien Chaos, Tyler?
That sounds like an AI generated video game.
It's not. It does have a cover that would make you think so, though. It looks like it's trying to be Metal Slug on the cover and not doing a good job. The cover looks so stupid. It's upsetting. Anyways, I don't know if there's an Alien Chaos not 3D before this, but yeah, it's about a $250 game. So enjoy that if you want it.
I can't even describe it. It looks like like a single player duck game, maybe. That's the closest I can come to. You're like in a set like Super Smash Brothers arena fighting fodder enemies. But
the cover makes you think Metal Slug, right? Like they tried to make you think of Metal Slug and then they did not deliver on that. This cover is so stupid. Everything
it looks
about
terrible.
This game
I think that is probably like some developers got put on this shit game. And one of the things they did to entertain themselves and make it better is they made the main character look like he's from Metal Slug. He's got like the bandana going on and like the Rambo kind of outfit and the cool spiky hair, but it's clearly an American game.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's Alien Chaos. Don't buy it. It looks real stupid.
Yeah, it looks worse. Yeah, no, it's just like it's probably worse than it looks actually, which is saying something. All right. Anyways, the other series we're talking about, Yokai Watch. You ever heard of this series?
It's anime.
Sure is anime. So how much do you think Yokai Watch, the first game, is on the DS? If you had to, like, do you remember when the 3DS like pushed this? It like got a pretty good marketing push. I remember it's like towards the end of the life of the DS and it was a little bit popular. I remember seeing it a lot in Target.
No, I've no.
Do you remember when that happened?
I do not resonate at all with the words Yokai Watch put together. That just does nothing for me.
Okay. So is this one of these like capture games? Like I think it's our version on the Switch in Japan too, I think. But I think this was like a Pokemon style catch 'em game, but I don't remember. I just remember it being in Target all over the place. And that game is like $15, Tyler. You can $15 or $20, you can buy like a new one. Not
Johnny,
a big
it
deal.
sold 400,000 copies, the original Yokai Watch on 3DS.
Is that good?
That's a successful video. Yeah, for a stupid anime cash-in video game on a handheld, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so, I mean, it had to kind of be successful because it did get a sequel. It got many sequels, and it did the Pokemon thing where, so there's like Yokai Watch 2, Bony Spirits, and then Yokai Watch Fleshy Souls. So they were like, they duplicated the game and it's doing something else. And I don't know what, but those games aren't that expensive either. They're like $20, $30 games. No big deal. But Yokai Watch 3 comes out at the end of the series and then some other versions of this game. And I don't know what happens, but Yokai Watch 3 is like a $300 to $400 game, and it sells. It's not like an anomaly. It's not like, oh, someone's just out. People are buying this game.
I think this is genuine popularity. So I'm looking at the sales numbers, and these games in Japan sell millions of copies. In Japan, outside of Japan, no one buys them. But the Yokai Watch 2 sold 3.1 or 2.6 million copies in Japan. That's crazy. That's like compared to what I mean, there must be just people that know how popular it is in Japan, or they're like really in touch with Japanese culture, and so they'll pay anything for the much rarer American version. If someone has another explanation, I would love to hear it, because 4 out of the 6 most expensive 3DS games are Yokai Watch games. What could the other explanation be?
Yeah. So remember how I told you they did the Pokemon thing where they did 2? Actually, they did 3 for Yokai Watch 2. And the one that's expensive is Psychic Specters, and that's $200. Then I don't know what this one is. I think this one came out between 2 and 3, but I'm unsure. They did Yokai Watch Blasters, Red Cat Corpse, and White Dog Squad. I don't know what any of these things mean. These are just word jumbles to me, but whatever. These games are all about $230 to $240. Crazy.
It's like the Shin Megami Tensei games. Like, the people who know what's going on, they're like, oh man, White Dog Squad, yeah. But like, if you don't know what's going on, you just kind of ignore it and you stick in your own little world. But the people who are into Yokai Watch are probably all about the nuances between these games, Johnny.
And it's got spin-offs called Blasters, Wibble Wobble, Yokai Academy Y, Busters 2, Secret of the Legendary Treasures, Bamblaya or some bullshit. It's a popular series. It's got a lot going on, but it is outside of my purview. But they are expensive games, and I had a friend tell me, he's like, you should be picking these up. So I kind of did, and they were kind of expensive when I was still thinking about doing the 3DS. And I own some Yokai Watch games, and I know nothing about them other than I should buy them if I want to do the set.
The only thing interesting about these to me is it's the only franchise in this entire episode that we're talking about. There's only, all right, if you count Pokemon, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, those are basically the same game. These are distinct games, and all of the games that we're talking about in the series, there's 4 games in the series that are over $200, and there's no other series that does that on this list. So this is the most expensive modern franchise, Johnny. It's Yokai Watch on the 3DS.
Yeah, go get them if that's what you want.
All right, Johnny, Xbox 360. Let's go over to the Microsoft side.
Let's go see the softer side of Sears. Microsoft.
There's basically nothing because it's Xbox. Johnny, NBA Elite 11. Yeah. I don't think we need to talk about this game that much more. It is the modern holy grail of video games. It is the current day stadium events. It is a game that didn't really get released, but copies got out there, and it's thousands of dollars, and you literally can't get it.
Well, I mean, you could go spend $15,000 for a disc if you want.
Just the disc. Sometimes there are like display rated cases that sell for some decent money, or like the little badges that like a Best Buy employee might have to wear. Yeah. There's one copy for $1 million, and then there's another copy for $50,000 on eBay. Oh, another one for $25,000. There's 3 copies on eBay. This is like getting relatively common at this point.
Yeah, this is garbage. Don't buy this. Overpriced.
Probably overpriced. Someone bought just the insert art and manual for $800, and I don't even think that's bad. That actually seems like a good.
No, I feel like they got a deal.
Is that if that's like the real insert art and not like display art? Yeah, $800. That seems like pretty good.
Yeah, that person like got
good
away
job.
with it. Yeah, I'm not into that kind of thing, but I think that's a winning move. Yeah, you did it.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I say it every time we bring this up. I think like there's no game I would be more impressed that you own in like modern era, maybe at all, than NBA Elite 11. It's just so anonymously rare, genuinely not released, genuinely destroyed, I think.
Few of them made it out. Do we call this a real retail release, or was it just made for retail and never released? How do we feel about that?
It was canceled before the street date, but some stores broke street date or their employees stole copies. It is. I think it's a hard call on whether you would count it in terms of the set. I guess I probably wouldn't, because it was technically canceled before the actual release date. It wasn't recalled; it was canceled before the release date, after physical production. It's a little bit of a Cheetah 2 situation, but it's also like a legit ESRB rated game. So it's a little bit harder of a call than Cheetah 2.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, well, NBA Elite is cool. I don't recommend buying it because the price is crazy, but I would be impressed if you had it.
Johnny, Xbox 360, apparently, from what I hear, a hot video game console to collect.
Yeah. That's what the internet would have you believe.
The internet would have me believe that people are chomping at the bit for some Xbox 360 games. And I know there's a ton of Xbox 360 games. And I know there's like some weird ones that people didn't buy as much, Johnny. I bought Bullet Witch back in the day, which I don't think is a game people bought a lot of.
No.
Out of all these games and a console that is apparently hot, there is one game besides like the Stadium Events game that is over $200. And it's F1 2013.
Was this game also canceled?
I cannot figure out why this game is expensive. And so I know that F1 games don't sell well in America. And if you like gun to my head, there's a modern console and you're asking me like, oh, what's like a rare and expensive game? I'd be like, the last year of an F1 game. Because like probably people were done buying an F1 game. Like if like the next console's out and like the next, they still put out one more F1 game for like the old console, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's probably like a rare game. F1 2014 is not rare. F1 2012 is not rare. F1 2013 is like kind of rare. I don't know
only
why.
A couple on eBay.
They all came out on like September, October, yearly release. There wasn't any kind of weird timing with the release. It had good reviews, basically the same reviews as 2012. If anything, 2014 had worse reviews. So 2013 should have better sales than 2014. For whatever reason, people didn't buy this game.
Is this a case where this is just the best version of the game, so people are buying it?
Oh, I didn't think about that. But it's also
kind of rare?
I didn't think about that. So maybe 2014 is bad, so people buy the 2013, and it's kind of like that NCAA 2014 situation, where it's like the last good one. I doubt it, man. That we've got some really good racing games now. Like I understand like college sports, like you couldn't get like the licensing, but like F1 racing, there's some good F1 racing games out there.
Yeah. Anyways, it's gonna cost you if you want it. They are in sold, right? There's like 5 or 6 in sold, but there's only like 2 or 3 active on eBay right now.
Yeah, $300.
Yeah, go.
And I mean, every time, if this is like on your top shelf, you got to explain like, yeah, no, 2012 and 2014 are bullshit. Yeah, 2013, that's a good one though. It's kind of like the Barbie situation. You got to be like, oh no, this is a cool game. Let me tell you about this one.
Yeah, this one requires some explanation. And tell us why. If you know why, tell us, please. Okay, that's it.
Xbox
we
360.
Did it. Xbox 360.
Basically one game that was actually released. There's nothing. Cheap set to collect. Yeah. Anyone complaining that video games are expensive, like we're almost done with this episode? I guess we're not really almost done, but video games are not expensive. You want to collect modern games, they're out there, and they don't cost that much more than MSRP because they're not on this list. And you know what? All the ones on this list you don't really want because you never wanted Solota Robo to begin with. So the games you want are cheap. Go get them.
And if you want F1, you already wanted this game because you like F1 games.
If you wanted F1 2013, you already bought it back in 2013 or 2012, whenever it came out. Like, don't tell me that you want this game and like, oh, the resellers have pushed up the price of F1 2013. You didn't care. If you didn't buy in 2012, you don't care about it. Oh, I was one of the people who bought 2012 and 2014, but I want to go back and see what 2013 was like.
Oh, the scalpers got it, man. They really did it to me. Fucking assholes. Get out of here. Crybabies.
Xbox One, Johnny.
ooh, this one's got to have at least ones of games on it.
I can't believe that there's even something to talk about with Xbox One. Probably next to the Xbox Series X, the game I would call the console that least collectors care about. Like, someone out there cares about Xbox and Xbox 360, but man, Xbox One and Xbox Series X, for whatever reason, there is a huge hurdle to get people to care about collecting these in the slightest. Limited run games doesn't make games for them. They're just like, we're not even going to make Xbox games because no one would buy them.
There's just not a lot going on.
All right, there's two things to talk about. One of them doesn't really count. So you brought up BioShock 10th Anniversary Edition, which technically, if you're buying the game called BioShock 10th Anniversary Edition, yes, the only way to get it is in a big stupid collector's edition with the Big Daddy statue. But inside that, it's just a copy of BioShock the Collection, which is like a $20 Xbox One game. So I'm counting that as a special edition. That doesn't count. Forget about that. That's like $430. I don't know who's spending $430 on a BioShock re-release collector's edition. I'm sure there's like some rare version of the original BioShock that would be much more interesting to have.
Yeah, there is. The one with the statue, remember?
Yeah. Or like the thing where the statue's broken, they replaced it with something else. Just get all like the original BioShock stuff. Don't collect like $400 re-releases. What are you doing? There is something kind of interesting, but it's only interesting because no one bought it on the Xbox One. And this comes back to collectors don't care about the Xbox One. The Psychonauts 1 re-release, physical re-release on a disc for Xbox One, was only part of the $129 Psychonauts 2 Collector's Edition, which, yes, we're getting back to a Collector's Edition here, but stay with me. This was available in 2022. This is recent. And
the Mother Lobe?
No, the Mother Lobe is different from the Collector's Edition.
Oh, okay.
So this is a collector's edition in the sense of like, it doesn't have an overarching box. They just kind of sent you a bunch of shit and like, here, I don't know, figure out what to do with this. I hate this, but that also means that this version of Psychonauts, you kind of got in a box separate from everything else. So it's not like Bayonetta on the Wii U, where the only way to have it is part of a Bayonetta 2 box. This game, you bought it and you kind of got it on its own. So does this count as part of the Xbox One set, Johnny?
I don't know. This is a weird game.
It's very strange.
Weird game.
I like thinking about all the edge cases, and I can't think of a case where you could only buy it as part of a quote-unquote collector's edition, but it came in completely standalone packaging. I would kind of consider this its own game in the set, but I think I might have to think about it more.
There was that game. What was it? It came out on the 3DS and the Wii, and it came with like another game packed in, only if you bought the special edition.
Was it Rodea the Sky Soldier you're thinking of?
Yes. Yeah. Or no, it only came with like the Wii what was it?
Yeah, it came with like a Wii copy with the Wii U copy, I think was it.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, but that comes back to it's a box set, so it's all together. Yeah. Where the extra game just came loose.
Which is super weird.
It is super weird. And I think that makes it interesting. And even more interesting, absolutely no one bought this on Xbox One. And there are PS4 copies available. And there's only one copy of this in the collector's edition or on its own right now on eBay. And they're asking $300. And by the way, that is not the collector's edition with all the stuff. That is just for Psychonauts 1. They're asking $300. And there's one copy. There's either 0 or 1 copy in solds. I think there's no copies in solds. This is probably the rarest Xbox One game. And it came out 2 years ago? That's kind of interesting. Bizarre.
I kind of like, and the cover is kind of awesome.
The cover's good, and it's a reversible cover. The back of the new cover, it's got like the Psychonauts 1. It says it's Psychonauts 1 in the Psychonauts 2 art style, and then if you flip the cover around, it's the original Psychonauts 1 art. It's a cool release.
Pretty cool. I like it.
In a world where it is impossible for me to care about an Xbox game, let alone an Xbox rarity, let alone a modern Xbox rarity, Psychonauts 1 on the Xbox One, kind of cool. I don't believe it. I think an Xbox game, an I Am 8-Bit Collector's Edition Xbox game, kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
It's a re-release. Everything about this I should hate, but it's so rare that I kind of like it again.
I like it. I kind of want to put it on my want list.
Do it. Now that we've hyped it up, and there's only one copy on eBay that's already overpriced. The problem is, this is never a game that someone's just gonna like clear out the closet, because if you bought the I Am 8-Bit Collector's Edition of Psychonauts 2 for the Xbox, like, you are such a specific collector that like you really wanted that for your own collection.
Yeah, like for instance, you can get the PS4. There's PS4 copies available of this as well.
Yeah, but they're not $200. They're not even that rare, right?
No, they're not too rare. But yeah, there's $200 for the collector's set. There's a different art style because it came out on limited run games too. So there is the I Am 8-Bit cover. There's the limited run cover, and then there's like the Portal edition, which is a different kind of copy altogether.
Yeah, this is like, we're getting back into like, man, it is impossible for me to care about collecting modern games just because of all this stupid bullshit that no one cares about. Like, oh, all these editions, they're all special. No, none of them are special. But this weird one, this is just like it slipped through the cracks, just like no one bought it.
Yep.
It's the opposite of Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo by I Am 8-Bit.
Also, the original system it was released on was the Xbox. Yes, it came out on the PS2 later. So also being like in the lineage of its original console, I like too. Makes it a little more interesting.
I think it's interesting that, so Psychonauts, essentially an Xbox game, and then no one bought the Xbox One version of it. Everyone's just like, yeah, we've moved on to PS4. Or I guess, Johnny, the other explanation is that all the people who bought it on Xbox One, they're the true fans of the series, and they wouldn't give up their copy for anything.
Yeah, that's it. Let's go with that.
Let's move on to the Xbox Series X, guys. That's it for the Xbox Series X. Those are all the collectible games for it.
Perfect. We did it.
Johnny, name an Xbox Series X exclusive.
Indiana Jones.
Is that it can't be on PC either?
Oh, shut up, Tyler.
I mean, that's the rules.
No, right. PC is not the same as consoles, but I have no idea. I would have zero clue.
Have no idea. Also, because you could name a PS5 exclusive, I'm sure, but yeah, I could not name you an Xbox Series X exclusive at all.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's so intrinsically tied to Microsoft and thus computers. Like, it would be insane, right, for them not to have it released on a PC or Steam somewhere.
So I looked up a list of Xbox Series exclusives, and every single one, it either has a parentheses that says timed exclusive or console exclusive. I don't know if there are any exclusives.
Cool
console to collect, guys.
All right. Let's get into a console that also had a hot period like last year and in 2023. Let's go to the PS3. Remember when they were closing down the store and all the games exploded and everybody said this was it? You got to buy all your PS3 games. So it must be a collectible console, right? And people love the PS3. It legitimately went from not good to a very good system. So it's got to have a lot of collectors, right?
You know what? Yes. I like the PS3. It's not my style of game to collect because it's a lot of like modern action games. But you know what? I think if you're collecting PS3, that's a fun console. It's a lot of interesting games and exclusives on there.
Yes, I like it. So there's got to be a lot of collectible games, right, Tyler?
Yeah, there must be. Starting out the gate with NBA Elite 11, it's got the Modern Grail. All right, there we go. That's one.
Yeah, okay. Price unknown. Pay whatever you want for it. And
well, all right, so we got Aquanauts Holiday, but this one doesn't really count because the reason this is expensive is that originally it was released in Japan, only in Japanese, and then it got a re-release in Hong Kong, South Korea, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia with English voiceover and text. So the reason this is so expensive is because people will pay $360 for the Asian but in English release of Aquanauts Holiday, which I think it's like an ocean exploration game. Is it a sequel to a PS1 game?
So it's not even a real North American game. It doesn't
really count. I mean, I guess it does count. We're not really looking at Asian games, though, because I'm sure we could have found some Japanese games in here.
Yeah. You could have got like Rain and The Last Guy and stuff in here, but games like Africa, which people know the PS3 for as like one of its exclusives, that game is not that expensive.
So I've always associated Aquanauts Holiday and Africa as games that are expensive exclusives with really unusual themes. And I kind of like both of them. I like the idea of an underwater exploration game. I like the idea of a safari game. I love these being at like the top of the set as opposed to like the normal, Atlas anime bullshit kind of stuff. I'm surprised Africa's actually not on here. I was considering panic buying that at one point in my life, I remember.
I mean, it's like $150 or $100 or something, so it's not nothing.
Yeah, it's just like I was worried that game was like a game that would just go up in price forever. But like I could just go, get one for $150. Not that that's nothing, but I was worried that it was going to become like, the next Crusader of Senti. But yeah, I guess it's out there.
All right. Tell me more. There's got to be something else.
Now we're still on 0 American games in the PS3. Don't worry. There's one that's kind of over $200. Siberia Complete Collection, but not really. So Siberia Complete Collection, the original release was rare, I guess, and people spent hundreds of dollars on it on the Siberia Collection.
Yeah, and Painkiller.
A series of PC adventure games, like I guess moderately popular PC adventure games. They're games that are remembered from the 90s.
You can play them on the Wii.
This got reprinted by the Canadian company. It's like Video Games Direct or something.
Yeah, yeah, I forget.
So there's a reprint of this. So if you just need a copy of the game, it's worthless. It's like
Video
$40.
Games Plus. Video Games Plus.
Video Games Plus, that's it. So there are still people, and I realize we're talking about a variant here. So this doesn't count. So basically you could say the PS3 has no games over $200. But there are people in a world where like there's all these $40 copies of this game coming around. Even after the reprint, they're saying, I have the original copy of Siberia Complete Collection, and you flip it over and it says Nordic Games on the address instead of THQ Nordic. So you know it's the original print. And they're asking $300 for it. Would you pay 10 times the price for the fucking original print of Siberia Complete Collection? Go get the original Siberia games! If you care about originality, what are we talking about? The only reason to own this game at all is to literally check it off your PS3 set list. So if you genuinely care about what you're buying, go buy Siberia on PC. I guarantee Siberia is not a $300 game. And then you have the real original thing. What are you doing?
Tyler, I think you are lacking some nuance here.
What's the nuance I'm lacking?
I don't know, Tyler. I heard if you say nuance a lot that people believe you. Is that
okay?
Is that true?
The weirdest part,
literally, there's a port on like every single system. It's a reprint of a reprint. Like, what does everyone give a shit about this for?
The weirdest part of this,
I can't make myself care,
is how many people care. And it's not everyone, but there's like a handful of eBay sellers who are like the I know what I have types. And like they're still trying to push that like, I have the original variant here. And it must be because they bought these copies back when it was a rare game. And then it got reprinted and they're like, oh shit, I got to unload this. But now it's worthless. And it's just like, I understand why the sellers might care that they have this more interesting version of a game that's not worthless, but like this is the risk you take investing in a game for a console they're still producing games for. They could just make them rare games again. Guys, that's you rolled the dice and you lost. So I think that the sellers care a lot more than the buyers of this.
Yeah, if you look at Painkiller Hell and Damnation, the same thing happened. And now it's just like a $50 game, and it used to be like a $200 game as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there are actually buyers of the first print for about 3 times the price of the later print. And you know what? They're still only like $150. So I still think this doesn't make the cut. I think this maybe made the cut before the reprint, but not anymore. You know what? PS3, let's just change it. PS3, no games, Johnny.
No games. Don't waste your time with the PS3. We just needed to talk about something aside from NBA Elite.
This is perfect. That means it's the perfect console to collect. It doesn't have any kind of set killers except for the most expensive modern game you could possibly buy.
Or if you don't count that, then yeah, you're good to go. Go buy some PS3 games. It's got enough interesting games. You can buy some collector's edition. There's some fun variants. And they're like small and not like as big as a DVD case. You'll get more on your shelf. Go get it.
All right,
if they
Johnny,
didn't change those spines, man, we would be in a much better place.
Oh, we would be. Johnny, let's move from PS3. It's kind of a console on the bubble of bullshit where like I'm not going to say it started without like collector's edition madness, but it started with collector's edition at kind of a normal pace for video games. And then by the end of that generation, it was just absolute insane psycho mode. And then we moved on to the PS4, where everything had to have limited prints and collector's editions. And if you collect for the PS4 like full set and you care about all the cool variants and all the limited prints and all the collector's editions, man, that must be your full-time job, is caring about PS4, because I can't imagine keeping track of what I'm supposed to care about and all that mess.
Well, and the PS4 and the overlap with the PS5 and PS4 editions coming, PS5 coming with PS4 editions and PS4 being upgrade compatible with some PS5 games. And when all that changes, these are going to be nightmare consoles to collect for and care about.
In a previous version of Tyler would be like in the spreadsheets trying to sort all that out. Like I'm just like trying to figure out like, oh, what counts? What is the set? I need to nail it down. But the cooler and more collected Tyler realizes I just don't need to care about that. Johnny, one of the a game that people would call a modern grail, and I guess this is one of the top modern grails, Poop Slinger by Limited Rare Games. Jokingly, only 84 copies sold, which is a lie. One of the more common games on this entire list. How crazy is that? There are currently 12 sealed copies on eBay right now. And we were talking about some of these other games that have like 3, 2, 4. And Poop Slinger, a game that everyone would point to as a modern grail, multiple times as many copies. Like, especially compared to like Barbie. Like, you can't get a Barbie.
Well, you can get 5, but man, yeah, Poop Slinger seems pretty available.
Interestingly, the sold copies in eBay solds are like $1,700 to $2,500, which I think is down. I think it used to be going for like multiple thousands, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it used to be a much bigger mover.
Even more interestingly, right now, there's an unsold buy it now, sealed Poop Slinger in like decent condition. Doesn't look like there's any major damage or anything, for $1,600. That, if I was actually FOMO panicking about Poop Slinger, like, oh my God, what am I going to do if I can't get the limited rare game? That doesn't seem bad. I think it seems bad in an objective sense, but compared to what this game sells for, like $1,600 doesn't seem bad. And 25 people are watching it and haven't bought it. Maybe because they're looking at the 12 other copies on eBay and thinking like, oh, maybe this game isn't quite as rare as I thought it was.
There's also an original limited rare Poop Slinger mailer available for €350.
I can't.
This is about 358 US.
If I cared about Poop Slinger, I would buy that $300 bubble mailer so fast. So fast. Because if I cared about Poop Slinger, the only reason I would care about Poop Slinger is if I think it's genuinely like the most interesting modern release. And so I think you could put that with NBA Elite 11, although you would basically say that game wasn't released. And then Poop Slinger was only sold on one website for one day. And it was like a weird website. It was like meant to look sketchy and stuff. So it was like a kind of a joke release. And so games, even like the limited print games, didn't have as weird of a release as Poop Slinger. And that's why it's such an interesting game, because it had this weird release. And so if I cared about it that much, yeah, I want the fucking bubble mailer. If I'm in my mind, it's like the Nintendo World Championships of the modern day.
Yeah, but but but
But no one's buying it at $1,600. And
Right.
people are buying Barbies at twice that almost. I don't know. I think it's got to be because there's so much fucking bullshit in the PlayStation 4 set that just like the concept of full set collecting PS4, like most people don't even try, right? That I think more people are collecting full Switch sets than will bother collecting full PS4 sets. 1,000,000%, right?
The magic of Nintendo does live on.
It sure does. I don't hate Poop Slinger, but I do kind of hate Poop Slinger, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, yeah.
All right.
$1,600 though. It still seems like okay if you need it. But maybe it's still going down. Maybe you wait.
Do
maybe
you need
keep
it?
waiting.
Yeah.
You
So
don't.
every other PS4 game we're going to talk about except one is less common than this, according to copies available. So, Johnny, 1,001 spikes. Sell them while
Yeah.
you got them.
Yep, this is a bullshit game. This was never actually released. Some copies got out from Nicalis, and yeah.
So this is the same deal as the PS Vita version. There were like review copies were sent out, but the game was never released. And then people started selling the review copies for like $1,000.
Yep.
And
So not actually released, and it's on the Nicalis store that's supposed to get a release soon. So yeah, this one, like Nicalis at one point said that we're going to actually sell all of these games. Whether that'll happen as time goes by, I get less confident in that, but this is one of the games listed on their website. So with a
and
coming
we're not
soon,
talking.
but
So
who
I
knows what
thought
that
when
means.
Johnny told me that, like it was like an old listing from like 2017. Like, don't worry, guys, we're still releasing it. No, you go to the Nicalis store. It's the third thing on the page. Is the 10th anniversary collector's edition of 1,001 Spikes is like coming soon, and it shows like the exact same version of the game. So you know what? Someone just spent $1,350 for a sealed copy of this. I really hope they know that they're re-releasing this.
Well, it'll be interesting if they print something on it that says like 10th anniversary on it or something on the new copy, because then how are you going to feel about it?
It doesn't look like they are. I still would feel that like if I could have a copy, if I just need to check it off my set list, like I would deal with the 10th anniversary copy. I wouldn't care. But yeah, it would make it much less desirable to me, I think, if they did put 10th anniversary on it. But they're not doing that. It looks the exact same. Maybe they changed like a copyright date or something on the back of the box. I hope it's exactly the same, because that would be the funniest situation, of course.
Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for, 100%. But we'll see what happens.
Despite this, I do think that these Nicalis games that were unreleased but got out there, regardless of how rare they are, I realize like, some of these like come up on eBay every month or two. That's really fucking cool. Even if they are gonna re-release them, but I do think that this and Binding of Isaac on the Vita, like that's the kind of like stadium events type shit that is like such an interesting story that most modern rarities don't have. Like we're talking about the most interesting and expensive modern games right now, and it's just like Barbie on 3DS. I don't know, it's not out there for some reason. Whereas like this, we know why it's not out there, because it was never released. But I don't know, some copies are out there, and that's fun and interesting as a collector.
Yeah, it definitely has at least story appeal.
Johnny, Tamashii, the second limited rare game and the only other limited rare game on this list. I think it had a similar situation where it was only for sale for like a few hours type deal. I think that's how most limited rare games work.
Yeah.
Fewer copies of this game are on eBay than Poop Slinger. But it's less money. It's like, I don't know, in the $800 range.
Yeah, people are asking up to 1,000, but yeah, it's going like 8 to 1,000, something like that. Neat game though.
Yeah, so I never actually looked into this because I saw this go up for sale, and I'm like, I've never even heard of that. Who would even care about this game? And I look into it, and it looks like kind of cool. It's supposed to be like a gory, uncomfortable horror puzzle platformer with like a Japanese kind of H.R. Geiger type theme. And it got bad reviews from critics and has really good reviews on Steam. And that is generally the formula of a good game. Like if critics like think it's too like weird or archaic or difficult, and the people who actually play it really like it, that probably means it's a really niche and good game. But it could be just I don't know. Video game journalism is in fact a fake job that no one genuinely has.
It's a game that's only become more interesting to me as I hear more people talk about it and see more from it. So yeah, I think I wrote it off initially, and then now I'm sad that I did that. So now it's like, oh my God, is this going to be one of those games that I have to pay for? Ugh. And what I mean by pay for is like have to pay.
Oh, because it's going to go in the Halloween collection. Oh.
Yeah. See, that's the crux right there. And apparently it was released on October 31st in 2020, and they only sold 90 copies. But if you look on eBay, there's like 12 copies. So, you know, if they only sold 90, 10 of those are just sitting on eBay right now, ready to go.
Like, if you believe they only sold 90 copies, you believe that, like, a guy named Boris in Kazakhstan is the CEO of Limited Rare Games. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. So,
Johnny, if I was... I'm trying to think, like, if I'm, like, FOMOing and everything, I would almost be more worried about getting this than Poop Slinger, because fewer copies are available, and it's a more interesting game. But I guess it doesn't have the cachet as Poop Slinger. So if Poop Slinger goes down, it seems like inevitably Tamashii has to come down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wouldn't buy this now. I feel like inevitably people will care less in 10 years. Like, maybe Poop Slinger has, like, a little bit of cachet in 10 years. I don't think Tamashii will have... Like, I think Tamashii's already losing cachet. But I don't know, I could be wrong.
We'll see how these things pan out. I mean, it only takes, like, one dumb YouTube video to, like, really hype a thing and then tell you why it's the best thing, and then what are we doing? Then it's like, oh my God, why is it $1,000? And the YouTube video does not need to be correct. It just needs to be popular.
That's true.
So,
Johnny, I don't know why this is on our list. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster for the PlayStation 4. I could go buy this for like $50.
But what about the first print?
Was the first print was only released through the Square Enix store, Johnny?
Yep, sure was. 2 editions, the regular and then the anniversary package, which came with, like, depending where you were, because the ESRB version I had different stuff than the non-ESRB version. But yeah, it was like a record and some other stuff, a slipcase that went over your game. So
forget about all that crap. Stuff. Just looking at the standard release of the game, no extra bonus crap. You can get the regular reprint for $50. Just go buy that. Or you can get the first print Square Enix store exclusive. And if you look at the ESRB logo on the front of the box, it doesn't have the French text. So the reprint has like the English and French text, and the original print is only in English. And people they know this, and they're asking hundreds of dollars for the first print of a game where the reprint is worthless. And it's the same thing as Siberia. It's a fucking re-release. If you want something collectible and Final Fantasy, go get Final Fantasy on the NES. That game's like $100. Why would you spend $300 on the original print of the Pixel remasters?
To be fair, you could spend up to $700 on the original print.
It's a budget compilation. It's 6 games in one. Not for the Switch, it's for the PS4, I guess.
No, it's also for the Switch.
Don't buy this. This is stupid. What? Go get that Psychonauts thing. Tyler hates remasters and reprints and non-exclusives, but he's still telling you Psychonauts is cool. The original print of the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster on PlayStation 4 is, I'm sorry, not that cool.
No, doesn't it? I don't think it actually counts. I know people want this to count, but no, there's a version you can go buy that will check this off your list. So don't worry about this game.
Dude, I understand like greatest hits and like really obvious budget label re-releases, but just like we re-released it and the ESRB logo changed a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean, who cares? You don't have the first print of every game in your collection. Technically, the first print would be like the earliest combination of date codes on NES cartridges. No one has that shit. No one cares about that shit. So why would you care about the ESRB logo on your Final Fantasy collection?
I don't know. So don't buy this, don't care about this. And another one not to care about is BioShock 10th Anniversary, which we talked about, just has that Big Daddy statue. It's like $450. It also shows up on this list because technically it's called the 10th Anniversary Edition. And I guess if you were making a list, and I know there's going to be a PS4 list that puts this on here, but it's just the BioShock collection in there. So do with that info as you will.
Yeah, that's dumb. Don't buy that.
Tyler, this is one you like.
I do like this. And so this is what's so interesting about PS4. Like, there are just all these small releases. We had all these limited print companies. And this game, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, is a Kickstarter exclusive. This was a Japanese Kickstarter. And this game is like $400 to thousands of dollars. What does this game even cost?
Last sold for over 500.
That is bananas. And so if you look at the Kickstarter, this game sold in the realm of 20,000 copies, but just looking at eBay, the ratio of North American to Japanese copies, it seems like most of the copies went to Japan, and the Kickstarter was in Japanese yen. So you would imagine most of the interest in this game was in Japan. And even then, like 20,000 copies for a print run is pretty low by modern standards. And if half those copies go to Japan, that's a really low print run for a game. Plus the fact that it didn't have any retail distribution, this game kind of has everything going for it. It's pretty cool.
There's like a PS5 version of this game too, which is a lot more common. But this is the version. It's the earlier version. It's the Kickstarter. And yeah, like you said, it's got a lot going for it that makes it have collector intrigue.
If this was... if this just had like an Atlas logo on it and people were paying $500 because it's like, oh, it's an anime game with a weird name, it's an action RPG, and it has an art style, I would hate this game. But the fact that it's like a genuine Kickstarter exclusive, and they never like went down the route of like, oh, and we're going to release it at Best Buy, or like, oh, and there's a limited run games release. It's like genuine Kickstarter exclusive. That's really cool. There's not that many console games that are like that.
No. So
there are PC games though. But no one cares.
Go check it out. Pretty good one. Like it's a good collector's game. I don't know if the game is good. Can't vouch for anything like that, but it's an interesting collectible.
I like that we're ending on a high note after all this bullshit here. So I like that game. And oh wait, no, we're not over. Oh my god, this episode just keeps going. Never mind.
Yeah, we still got stuff.
Johnny, we're on my favorite game of this episode.
Oh yeah?
It's Godzilla on the PlayStation 4. And I remember this going through like an Instagram hype phase. And that hype has not died. This game is $250. It is not rare. There are plenty of copies sold. There are dozens and dozens. The complete in box, just go get it right now. Buy it now, auction, whatever you want. You could get a copy of Godzilla on PS4. It is one of the least rare games that we're going to talk about today, but it's always over $200. And the only reason this game is $200 is because people love it. People love Godzilla. People love the kaiju monsters. And they just wanted a Godzilla fighting game. Or it's like an action, like a 3D action fighting game, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's a little bit like Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. It doesn't have good reviews. It's similar to Coraline on DS. There is no reason for this game to be $250 other than that people just fucking love it. And it's got pretty cool box art. I will say it's like a black and white image of Godzilla, and then I think it shows the Godzilla logo in Japanese on it. It's a cool looking game. Are you in on Godzilla? I don't have a copy of this, but you know what? If you have spent $250 in a game that is not rare, I approve of your purchase.
No, I like this game. I think this is pretty cool. And the Godzilla hype has just been so strong. They released a good Godzilla movie. Yeah, like, go get this. It's cool. People love Godzilla, so get your kaiju on and enjoy. I'm not here to shame you for that.
I don't know if this has any reason to do with the price, but the development story of this game was that it was released in Japan as a PS3 exclusive, kind of unfinished. And then they remade it for the PS4 with a lot more content, or it really seems like they finished the game for the PS4 and just re-released it. And then that's the version that came to America. And I don't know if this was just like one of those situations where it like, will we, won't we release this in America? But they did. And now it's $250. Crazy. Well, like how that game can't even be that old. That game's less than 10 years old. Just people love it. Yeah. I'm so in on these games that are not products of like, I guess this is kind of a product of hype a little bit, but I'm in on this.
There's actually a lot of hype on Godzilla, but not undeservedly so. It's not like, oh man, I think Godzilla's also had a lot of bad games. It's a series with a lot of bad games.
Is it?
Yeah.
I like the GameCube game.
That was fine. I think people just want to fight with big monsters. Also, Godzilla is a monster that appears in a bunch of games, even when it's not technically Godzilla. Someone's always trying to put the Godzilla creature in a game.
I guess Godzilla does have a lot of bad games.
I mean, the NES ones, both of them, not good.
I think the stupid, like, if you set your expectations for how stupid a Godzilla game usually is, I think any of the 3D Godzilla games are kind of fun. I have not played Godzilla Unleashed. Maybe Godzilla Unleashed is terrible. But you know what? It's probably stupid enough that it's fun. Because it's Godzilla. And Godzilla is kind of stupid. That's part of the appeal of kaiju stuff, is that it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, have you watched the first Godzilla? The first ever? The black and white one from like 19... Yeah. That movie is not a fun, stupid movie. Godzilla became a little bit silly and stupid later, but much like the most recent Godzilla, these were not fun movies. They were like serious and
I mean, that's the Godzilla film I love, is the kind of like the Godzilla, the original Godzilla, and then like Shin Godzilla, where they like take it seriously, and it's not like he's fighting with, Godzilla Jr. He's fighting like a giant foam monster. I like kind of the semi-serious, oh fuck, he's destroying our city. Let's have a real discussion about nuclear bombs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Godzilla was just a giant synonym for nuclear bomb after what happened in Japan after World War II or during World War II. So yeah, Godzilla has a really interesting history, but it's weird that it just became like this kind of goofball series. Whatever.
I mean, it kickstarted a genre. It's just like people like the genre for a different reason than the original movie was made.
And that's fine. I'm like I said, I'm not here to share. You like your kaiju? Then go get this game. Go get it. I'm not against it.
So Johnny, I recently sold my Blu-ray collection, like every single one. So I sold all my bulk a while ago, and now I sold all my good stuff because I'm like, when am I going to watch a Blu-ray? I don't even have a Blu-ray player hooked up anymore. And the only Blu-ray I had that had any value was this random Godzilla Blu-ray, and it was worth more than like every other Blu-ray I had combined. It was like a $250 Blu-ray. And it's just, there are Godzilla people out there, and they need their Godzilla shit. It's just, I guess it's just really niche. And I love it.
Yeah, you don't mess with Godzilla people. They like what they like. Like I said, I'm not here to shame them.
Johnny, for the PlayStation 5, there are no games over $200.
Oh, good. That makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of games that are over $250, but they're all like wacky collector's editions. So do with that as you want.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about regular ass games for the common working man over here who just needs a copy of the game for the checklist.
So let's move on to another system with no games, kind of. PSP, no games, Tyler.
That's cool, kind of shocking to me. Does that include UMDs?
That does not include UMDs. And weirdly, there are some expensive UMDs. Look, guys, hold on. I'm going to come closer to the mic. I want you to hear me. If you are collecting UMDs, get help now. Please stop it. This is a bad road to take. Don't collect UMDs. You can't do anything with these. It's one of the worst pieces of media ever developed, and you should feel repulsed just by owning it. Please stop trying to watch movies or collect movies that are UMDs. I would rather see your VHS collection, okay? Please stop. All right. After that note, yeah, it doesn't include UMDs, which there are several expensive ones for. Go look at that if you hate yourself. There's this thing, and it's a game, kind of, but it's not a retail release. Have you heard of the Hilton Family game?
This feels like really on the edge of what we're talking about in terms of regular games, but yes.
It is not. It is not. I just wanted to bring it up because it's the only thing, and it's expensive, and the price is whatever. It's the Hilton Hotel's Be Hospitable corporate training game developed by Virtual Heroes in collaboration with Hilton Hotel brand. It was released in 2009, and this game was not intended for the general public, but instead was a training tool distributed to Hilton employees. So this was like, we're hip, we're cool, we're Hilton. We'll teach you how to be a good employee with a PSP, which makes it a little interesting, and that these copies went around. Again, it was aimed at the employees to teach them customer value and their customer service standards and hospitality practices in an engaging and entertaining way. Yeah. There was games. You could explore various scenarios related to customer interactions within a Hilton Hotel environment. The focus was on solving problems, providing exceptional customer service, and adhering to Hilton's hospitality standards. The game, and this is according to them, incorporated realistic scenarios such as handling guest complaints and managing bookings and creating a welcoming environment for a diverse clientele. And your success was measured on how well you embodied the Hilton brand philosophy of be hospitable. Are you in?
I think this this does not belong in this episode, but yes, I think this is a super, super, super cool thing if you own this.
Yeah, so
Do you have any idea what this is worth?
I don't.
All right.
Here's a fun fact about it. It ran on the Unreal Engine.
Cool. Yeah. It was like 3D. It wasn't even like a menu game.
No.
All right.
So, anyways.
So, PSP, going over PSP, there are barely any games over $100 on PSP. Like, I know PSP maybe isn't as beloved a console as the Nintendo DS, but it wasn't a bad console. It has like a lot of pretty good games on it. Even like a bunch of interesting exclusives, I would say. And man, no one cares about the PSP. It is super cheap to collect PSP.
Do you want to hear a fun thing? If you're trying to find this game and you put Hilton as your search, you're going to get Paris Hilton results from The Hills.
Well,
UMD.
I mean, come on, you're.
I'm just saying.
You're searching eBay. It's impossible.
Also, Hills spelled with a Z, because it was the aughts.
Yeah, imagine if you just used letters you thought were cool in your brand names. Like, what if we had just a company called X? That would be so embarrassing.
That would be pretty. Or would you just put the Z at the end of like the best video game software for collecting?
Johnny, tell me about the PS Vita, because I don't care. We're
going to get through it real quick. This is the end of the episode. We've reached the end almost. I might have snuck a few more things in here. Hey, there was Revenge of the Bird King, Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, 1001 Spikes, and VVVVVVV. That's 6 V's for you who are counting. I don't know how many I actually said. These were all the Dumb Nicalis games that are review copies or stolen, whatever their situation is, and they got out there. So not actual retail releases, but they're interesting and they exist. And Revenge of the Bird King you can actually get on the PS4 for like $35, but the PSP version is not out. Our Vita version is not out. And for as much collectibles as there are on the Vita and how much people like it, a lot of the games that like reach over the $200 threshold wind up being releases for other regions. So there is some of that if you're into it. Go look into that. These big expensive ones, they are all the Nicalis ones. There are, though, a few that reached over that are US copies. Invisimals. Have you heard of this game? So this is the second Invisimals game, and comes in like a bigger box, comes with some stuff. I don't really know what's going on with the Avisimals series, but it's like $265 to $300 if you want it.
Does it have a Z? It has a Z in the name, just to be sure that this is cool. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I hate that kind of stuff. But anyways, interesting. There's also a Rose and Twilight, which was one of the last games that was kind of being released for it, like in the last 10 before they like produced some other stuff. And that came with like a big box, and there was some other stuff going in. Even then, like there's collector's edition. I don't think there was a non-collector's edition, though. You'll see that copy around. But either way, it's about $200 for that. So kind of some interesting stuff going on with there for it. But here is one game I do want to recommend. And I know you're going to find this weird, but it's Breach and Clear. You know Breach and Clear? Do you know any of the history of this?
I do know the history of this, Johnny. It's the first limited run game. It's the reason Limited Run exists as a company. And I also agree that this is like one of the more interesting modern games.
Yeah. I think this is very cool. Again, whatever I've ever said about limited run games, they are still an important part of video game history. They are the biggest publisher. They are a thing. Like they're an undeniable thing in force in video games and collecting video games very specifically. And this is their first one. And it is not, there was also a PS4 copy of this, but the Vita one was the first one, had the smallest print run at only 1,500 games. It supposedly sold out in 108 minutes or something. If you like look on it, came out October 29th of 2015. And yeah, this game goes for about $250. And I feel like considering the history of this as a modern collectible, this is a pretty good one and not too expensive for what it is and what it represents.
Yeah, I would certainly buy this over Shantae and the Pirate's Curse on Switch.
Yeah.
If I cared at all about limited run games, I would be snapping this up. Like, this is not rare. Like, all right, in physical production numbers, this is very rare. Even in terms of limited run, like most of their limited run stuff for like 3,000 to 6,000 copies, I think, when they were actually limiting things. So 1,500 is, I think, as low as it went. I think like NES homebrew, like Galf, I think they might have made some lower production numbers of, but it's out there.
You can go get it.
I don't think it will ever not be out there, because the only people who care about limited run games are the type of people who are willing to like flip their stuff on eBay. But I don't care. This is a thumbs up from both of us.
Yeah. No, I like this one very much. And the fact that there's so many available on eBay right now is a little bit questionable to me. Do people not understand what this is? I know there was all flippers, and I know people don't care, and it's the Vita, so who gives a shit about that? But I think if you collect video games, this is kind of an interesting game to own. And it does hold a little place in video game history.
So this comes back to the fact that there are 0 up-to-date lists of limited run games releases. I think it's just that like literally no one cares about limited run games, Johnny.
I think
you can care about individual games they put out, but as a company, like no one cares. When I do think this is a genuinely interesting piece of history.
Yeah, I did consider the list, Howard. I was like, should I be the one who makes this list? And then I stopped myself.
Yeah, because then you'd have to keep up with it, and like you don't want to be keeping up with all the different releases of games they put out all the time. Come on.
I really don't. But yeah. Anyways, that's a thing that you could own and have. And I think it's cool. And, Tyler, that's a really good place to end the episode.
That is a great place to end the episode. And we should.
No, I want to just mention one dumb thing. Hey, because Toys to Life are part of video games from the modern era. Remember Toys to Life?
No, what's that?
Oh, there's these little things that they were like, what if we made video game packaging somehow worse and more inconvenient? And they're like, we'll make them toys, and then we'll make them all in like blister packs, and you have to tear them open. We won't make like good cases for them. Well, yeah, it'll be the worst, dumbest thing ever. And they made Amiibos and Skylanders and Disney Infinity and Lego Dimensions and Starlink. That was another one. Remember those? Hey, no. Remember?
Oh, you're talking about like Funko Pops. We're talking about video games. This is a video game collecting podcast.
They're like Funko Pops. They're like Funko Pops, but for video games. Anyways, there are some amiibo that are expensive, whether you want to believe that or not. QB, and these are like Japanese ones, so who cares? And Leolia and Chevelle, this is like a Monster Hunter. I think those are Japanese. The big US one is Yarn Yoshi Mega, the big one, and that's like $195. There's a Splatoon 3-pack alternate colors. I don't know if that means this was just alternate colors of the initial Splatoon 3-pack or not. Anyways, and there's a Navaryu or something for $190. I believe that's Japanese Monster Hunter as well. Anyways, amiibos can be kind of expensive, but you know what's even more expensive than amiibos?
Disney Infinity.
No, Disney Infinity is actually pretty cheap. There's actually only one Disney Infinity that broke over $200, and that's Sorcerer Mickey, and he goes for around $200. He was actually the first one released. He was released at a D23 Expo. It was actually the first D23 Expo, and he goes for around $340. There's a secondary release when they just made a more common release of him that goes for around $200. So now your options are Lego Dimensions or Skylanders. Which one is going for more money? And I know you should think Lego because
Lego, obviously.
Lego,
no,
right? Obviously. Yeah. No, there are none Legos over $200. So there's not even really any over $100. Supergirl is one of the rare ones because she was only a pack-in with certain systems. Like after the game had already came out, like to get you to buy the PS4 copy, they jammed Supergirl in. So that was cool, except it never made it really expensive. Supergirl's around $100. Green Arrow was released only at Comic-Con, so you would think that would be expensive, but it was a giveaway, so it's only like $25 if you want. So there's nothing on Lego Dimensions. So let's talk about the serious state of Skylanders, because what the fuck is happening in the world of Skylanders? Tyler, there are over 40 Skylanders worth over $200. Over 40. And again, I know we're not talking about.
So if you, that's like $8,000. I wouldn't believe you. If you told me, can $8,000 buy a full set of Skylanders? I'd be like, yeah, $8,000 could probably buy like 16 full sets of Skylanders. What are you talking about?
I would agree with you. And again, a lot of these, I'm not going through the list of all these. I just wanted to bring it up. So most of these are just like repaints or convention exclusives that happen to be like available, right? Like you're not going to go get these Toy Fair. There's a gold one, there's blue ones, red ones, Hothead Games ones, exclusive retailer variants, minis, but there's a lot of them out there, Tyler. The most expensive one is, hold on, missed my note, called Light Yawn, $950. And do you know what the yawns are in Skylanders? They're part of the traps. They were part of the Trap series, and they were these exclusively and rare treasures that you could get in the game. I don't really know because my wife stopped playing Skylanders before Trap Day. I think she stopped at Swap Force. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, the game continued on. They made representations, Skylanders, of these treasures. The Light Yawn being the most expensive at $950. The Life Yawn, $600, and the Fire Yawn at $480. And these were limited releases and limited retailers. I don't know if they were like giveaways. It just says that they were limited, but it does say they were at some retailers. So do what you will with that there are a bunch of Skylanders, again, mostly variants, but are very expensive. So if you are a hardcore Skylander collector, or if you think Skylanders are part of video game history, and they are, and you need to collect all of them to have the full set, you are going to spend a lot of money on Skylanders, and I'm sorry.
No, I hate that. I'm going to forget this ever happened.
No, never forget that you could spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on Skylanders. And there's just like a bunch of regular ones, just like the actual ones that are like $70 if you want them. Yeah. What is happening?
If you're like a garage sale flipper, do you have to have all this information in your head? Because I have to assume one of the things you're going to find going around to garage sales these days is boxes full of Skylanders. And now you got to keep in mind that, like, I got to remember these 40 different valuable Skylanders just in case I come across one of those.
No. There's 46 that are over $200. There are many more than that over $100. And like, if you're a garage seller, if you're finding $40 Skylanders for $1, you are winning. That's a 40x come up. Are you kidding?
I don't understand.
Dude, I think if you see a Skylander for $1 at a garage sale, you should buy that Skylander. I want to see your boxes of Skylanders, guys. I want to see it. Show me your Skylander grails.
I hate this. I just like the game. The entire concept of Toys to Life is like physical DLC, or not even DLC. It's sort of like, I mean, I guess it is like DLC, but like it's pay to win because like you can't access areas of the game unless you buy the right dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well,
even as an adult, I bought everything for Lego Dimensions. But it just felt so stupid. It's like, oh, here's a little side area, but you're going to have to switch to the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz to get here. Make sure to fuck around with your little Legos over there. When it's just like, come on, I just want to be, Dumbledore the whole time because he can fly.
Yeah, that was cool. So Skylanders has an interesting thing that like a lot of these and all of the areas and all the games have like been incorporated. People have taken and read all of the data from all the characters and put them in Steam, like as a Steam pack that you can kind of go get. I don't think it's an official Steam pack, but it's out there. So Skylanders history is preserved. Lego Dimensions is in a tricky place because something like the second series of Lego Dimensions, they are not preserved and they're shutting down the servers. So the second part of Lego Dimensions and all those like cool pack-ins, the Harry Potter ones, the Ghostbusters ones, like Gremlins, a bunch of the really neat ones that came out second, those are all threatening to go away and to be lost to time unless you have the physical objects. So that makes the Lego Dimensions even more interesting, except NFCs degrade over time. These aren't meant as permanent media storage. So eventually these stupid little discs are going to be blank. So I don't know what we do, but I hope someone out there is doing something about it. Do with that what you will on all of these modern collectibles. And that's all we need to talk about. I hope you're having fun collecting modern games. There really isn't that many modern grails that aren't like, collector's editions. So if you're just out there in the world and you aren't collecting DS, you're doing all right. Go collect PS3 or something. I don't know. Seems like a fun system. Or go buy Wii U. Wii U might be the funnest set to collect because it's just so accessible.
I'm going to go with NES. Or
we're talking modern.
Kickstarter releases of computer games because they're all rare and collectible.
Okay.
Shout out to Kanakis, who was in our Discord showing off his copy of Wasteland 2. I don't remember if that was a Kickstarter exclusive, but I bet he has the Kickstarter exclusive version if there is one.
I think that's a perfect thing. You wanted to start calling people out on the Discord that showed you the best thing. Is Kanakis the person who showed you the best thing?
Oh, right. We got to talk about what's the best thing? No, I'm going to go here. So he showed off a box full of SSI Gold Box games, like Pool of Radiance and that whole series, and then a Kickstarter release of Wasteland 2 and Draken, terminally under-discussed RPG Draken.
That game is terrible. What a terrible game.
Draken is mediocre. Come on. It's there's some
you have to remember,
and stuff.
You have to remember, I played it on the Super Nintendo, and I will never forgive it for existing.
I mean, I played the Super Nintendo version as well. As a kid, I had no idea what was going on. I think it was multiplayer. Was it multiplayer, or am I just pretending that? Like, the combat in that game, you don't do anything. Like, you think you do something, but you just don't do anything. You just, like, reload if you died, I think is how when I actually had to sit down and beat it. As a kid, I got nowhere. I had no idea what to do. It was just like, wow, this game's 3D. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, nope.
It's fun revisiting games because, like, as a kid, like, if you didn't have a manual or you didn't have patience, like, no, you had no idea what to do in Draken. But as an adult, you're not an idiot. So it's fun to go back and be like, oh, it's actually a video game. It's not a very good one, but it is a video game.
Sure is a video game of kind.
All right. I'm just scrolling through. I don't know. Matthew got a copy of Persona 2 on PlayStation. Dork Overlord got a Hang Tab 1942.
The Gamer Collective got the Alan Wake Special Edition, and if you're into Alan Wake, which he is, that's a cool thing to own. I recommend only getting collector's editions of games you're super in love with and want the tchotchkes that go with it. This one had some interesting stuff. I like the key and stuff, so yeah, I like that.
I'm going to say Kanakis didn't actually buy his games. He's just showing off a box that he took out of storage, so.
Okay. I'm giving it to, and I talked about him last episode too, Galdius, who showed off all of his tech toy collection.
This is bullshit. He had all those games. All he does is collect those games. Galdius, get out of here, you Xbox One collector. I want to know what the new stuff people got is.
I mean, but how, well, that might be true, but when are you ever going to see a picture of it all together?
I mean, yeah,
it's not show off your new games, it's show off your games. He's showing them off.
But
let the man cook.
This section is who got the best new stuff.
Okay.
All right. Johnny, I'm going to go on to the collector's questions.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
Matthew, you got the best new stuff with Persona 2.
Okay. So, hold on. Let me do the thing. If you want to be able to submit questions and get reviewed on if your new stuff is good or not, you can join us by becoming a member of our Patreon for $4, and that's where you get After Dark episodes. But really, the best thing you get is access to our Discord, where you can ask us questions, show off, and hang out with a bunch of other fine collectors and people who are into the show and who think like this. And it's great. Love our Discord, love all the people there, and I thank you very much for all of your continued support. If you want that, like I said, patreon.com/collectorsquest. All right, collector's questions, Tyler.
Tiger Wolf asks, is shopping on eBay the replacement for social media doom scrolling? Discuss. And Wafflefoot responded, I doom scroll eBay.
I doom scroll eBay sometimes.
I think there is an actual concept called doom spending, which might be a Gen Z thing, where it's just like the future seems so hopeless that I might as well spend all my money and have fun now, rather than do things like save for retirement or like save for housing and things like that.
I have definitely had those thoughts in my life at certain points.
Hey, if you guys are doing that, maybe go set up an IRA, and you'll probably feel better about having money for your retirement than not and just giving up on life.
I wish I didn't buy Star Wars figures from the 2000s and put all that money in an IRA or a high yield savings account or the S&P 500.
If you think maybe in 20 years you're going to regret buying all of those expensive Barbie 3DS games instead of buying like an index fund and saving for your future, maybe this is your call to reconsider that.
That's us talking about the hobby we love and why you shouldn't be a part of it.
Woo! Yeah, give up on game collecting, guys. 401ks? Oh, that's my jam.
Man, we talk a lot about the S&P 500 and high yield savings accounts. We're like, this is a bad choice, guys. We're here to warn you that what you're doing is bad.
I'm going to say shopping on eBay is not the replacement for social media doom scrolling, because I think the eBay experience is so compromised compared to what it used to be. I think I had way more fun shopping on eBay. Is it because I didn't have as much? Because the most fun I ever had shopping on eBay was when I just started game collecting and I would just refresh the video game category looking for deals on anything. And now I'm so particular with my tastes or like what I need that I wouldn't really want to scroll. I just want to get that hit on that save search I'm looking for.
So I think it is a little bit like doom scrolling now, because you just hit your feed, and so like if you're on social media, you no longer control your algorithm, and everything you see isn't what you're actually asking to see, and you're just being shown a bunch of stupid shit. And eBay feels a lot like that. So I don't think it's a replacement. I just think it's all the same now.
All right, good response.
Right.
Final Fight CD asks, "What
I don't like
meal?"
Hold on. I don't like how dismissive you are. Good response. Shut up.
What it was just like acknowledge what you said. I agree and move on, so we don't spend too long on this question.
It felt like oh yeah, good response. Get out of here.
No, it was we are a very unprofessional podcast, but when you have like professional broadcaster people, they'll be like, and now here's Johnny with the news, and then you're supposed to say, thank you, Karen, and you have like that little
Why'd you call me?
quick little move on type thing. God damn it, Johnny. This is why we're not a professional podcast.
I know. We can't have nice things, Tyler. We're not nice things.
This is why when I listen to those stupid AI podcasts that have like the overly podcasty man and woman talking, I'm like, wow, this sounds so professional compared to Collector's Quest.
All right. Let me throw it back to you, Tyler. Please deliver us the next collector's question.
Thank you, Johnny. Our listener, Final Fight CD, asks, what meal would you choose to pair with your favorite game and why? Wow, Johnny, I think that's a really insightful question. Why don't we start with you and your take?
Tyler, I don't pair meals with video games because that is not what I do while I play video games. I find food and video game controllers don't particularly go well together. But if I was going to, why not just serve up the classics, pizza and soda and video games?
Yeah, I guess my favorite game is Super Mario 64, and I associate a lot of that with hanging out with my friends and eating pizza, drinking soda. But also, I'm more of a guy, I'm like a sit down and beat that game in one sitting kind of guy now. Because Super Mario 64 is not the longest game in the world, especially if you know what to do. So I'm usually playing that in between meals, Johnny. So the correct answer is no meals, because it'll be between lunch and dinner.
Correct.
Also, I'm weird about, I don't like my hands being dirty at all. Like, as I'm eating dinner, I'll probably get up and wash my hands like 3 times. If I touch anything that's a little bit gross, I want it off my hands immediately.
I'm kind of with you like that, and the only time I make an exception for that is chicken wings, because I love chicken wings so much. But man, it's the only that I love them so much that I'm willing to stand how greasy and messed up my hands get eating them. Yeah. And I'm like wet wiping them like 20 times during the meal, trying my best. But yeah,
wiping it on a napkin is not enough. You need to get up and get some soap on those things, Johnny.
Just get a good wet wipe. You're just gonna have to power through.
I'll just power through. That's it. That's the collector's questions, Johnny. Do you want to tell us what you've been buying and what you've been playing?
I don't actually. I'm gonna tell you, I played like another half hour of Indiana Jones, and sadly, not more than that. I want to beat this game. I'm really enjoying it. I just haven't had the time. And a lot of that is because of what I've been buying and then like some dumb research I did. Tyler, have I told you what I've been doing? I know I have. It's more so you can tell the people.
No, Johnny. Why don't you tell me? That's a great topic of discussion.
Well, Tyler, let me tell you what I've been doing recently. In recent events, Johnny Iucci has been buying up garbage games like it is 2012. No, I've been doing a lot of research on movie ticket games. Because, I love that variant. I love movie ticket variants. It's my favorite variant of all time. And I'm like, I want to get a list of these. And we have some incomplete lists like on GameCube. And there's a guy named Finn Ravens who has some lists that are on YouTube. And it seems like he's got a pretty good list. And then I just realized that there's no complete list and no one had put them together. And there's not a good one for Xbox. And the GameCube list isn't right. And even though we have one on GBA, that list wasn't right and was missing games. So I just went and I was like, okay, never mind. I won't have a social life and I won't do other things. And I haven't done like a big hard research project in a while. So I just went hard looking at where all the movie ticket games were and started cross-referencing against other systems. And I've got an Airtable for it. I'm not ready to quite release it yet, but yeah, Tyler, I have really been finding movie ticket games and I've bought an embarrassing amount of them. Would you like to hear some of them?
Sure, absolutely.
Madagascar for the Xbox. Megamind, the Blue Defender for the DS. Madagascar on the PS2. X, the official game. That's X-Men for the GameCube and also for the PS2. And another copy for the PS2. So why did I buy 2 copies for the PS2? I know you want to know, Tyler, and let me fill you in. Hey, here's a dumb thing I found out about variants for the GameCube and also the PS2 and probably the Xbox. There's a movie ticket variant, right? It's like, oh, here's $6.50 in movie ticket cash, and you can just apply it. And it's like from Movie Money or something. But there's also these versions which are concession casts, so you bring it in and instead you like get some drinks or whatever. Some apply for a ticket and some apply for the concession. Some games have both, and there's no mention of either.
I love that. I love the distinction between movie tickets and concession cash, Johnny.
And they are of different values. And sometimes, Tyler, there's a Canadian variant, and it shows the Canadian flag on the ticket as well. So that's cool. Hey, did you know there's a few computer games that also got movie tickets?
I all I know is that you're like, Tyler, I did it. I've made the best movie ticket variant database that's ever been made. And then the next day you were like, Tyler, I found like 6 more games.
Yeah. So, hey, Disney's Tarzan Print Studio kit had a version which came with the movie ticket for Tarzan. Finding Nemo. I bought Crash Nitro Kart that came with the bonus CD because I wanted a copy of that. Up for the PS2. Up for the Wii. X-Men Mutant Academy for the PS1. Hey, did you know the PS1 had some movie ticket games as well? It's true.
No. Sure?
Yeah.
I don't think about it if I knew that.
So the first print of X-Men Mutant Academy actually says, comes with free movie ticket. And the second prints say, costumes from the movie or something on the little badge. Because there's a little silver rectangle on the cover of the game for the PS1.
Cool.
Toy Story 3, Surf's Up, Fantastic Four, Ice Age 2, Over the Hedge, Monster House, Toy Story 3, Scribblenauts Unmasked, Where the Wild Things Are, Hannah Montana the movie, hey, Bratz the movie, One Piece, Disney, Magical Jewels for the DS, The Da Vinci Code, Batman, Lego Batman 2, Madagascar 2, Escape from Africa, Madagascar 2, Escape from Africa for the PS2, and Kung Fu Panda. Aren't these exciting games that I bought? Not all of those were movie ticket variants, by the way, in case some people are like, oh my God, writing these down. Don't write those down. They're not all movie ticket variants. Some of them just had like DVDs included or a card included. Anyways, yeah, that's what I bought. Like I said, I just was like, hey, why not buy a bunch of trash games? If I spend over $15 on a game, it's a bad deal. That's what I did, Tyler.
Well, I'm happy you got more movie ticket variants. I know it's something you love, and I guess it's easy to appreciate because they are a unique variant. I like them. I have almost none of them. I probably have some random ones on Xbox, but like I have not gone out of my way to get them.
So I think when I started the list and I like compiled everybody's stuff from like lists that were just around and stuff I found on the internet and forum posts, I think there was like 80 games listed. If that. My list now is up to 200 and growing. And the good thing about my list is I'm not guessing if I'm verifying if I don't have a picture of the ticket in the game, then I won't put it on the list. I'll put it as like unconfirmed, but yeah, that's how I'm doing it. Anyways, look forward to that at a later date, Patreon members.
Cool. I'm happy you got more movie ticket stuff, Johnny.
Yep. Woo! Tyler, what about you? What have you bought and what have you played?
Johnny, I bought Demise, Rise of the Kutan from the year 2000. The game I think we've all heard of.
Nope. Tell me more.
Okay. It's a hardcore, I haven't played it yet, but the reputation it has is a hardcore dungeon crawling role-playing game for the personal computer. And maybe my favorite type of game to either discover or play is a game that's made by one dude over a very, very long period of time. Which this game is not exactly that. This game was made mostly by one dude over the course of a couple years. And then fans of the game, like this very hardcore niche fan base, bought the rights to the game from him in like the year 2002 or something. And for the past 22 years, they have continued to develop this game and have put out 2 sequels to this game on, I think, the same engine. And if you go to their website, it's like the same website from the 1990s. And the only place you can buy this game is from their 1990s ass website. And they have an eBay account where you could buy the game. And so when you buy the game on eBay, you get an original sealed copy of the game from the year 2000. And then they send you an update CD that they burned themselves, basically. And it is so charmingly low budget.
Yeah, I'm in on this. I like this a lot.
All the way in. It's so cool. So the game, it's like it's like a regular grid-based dungeon crawler where your movement is all grid-based, but the combat is in real time. So all the enemies aren't moving grid-based, but you do move grid-based, which is super weird. But I don't know. I'll have to play it. I do want to play it, see what it's like. It has 45 90 by 90 grid floors in the game, where if you don't play dungeon crawlers, if you're going on number of tiles, that's approximately 250 times bigger than Wizardry 2. Wizardry 2 is a particularly small game, but it is a very, very big game. And I love the idea of single player games developed over the course of like 25 years. So that's what I got.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Johnny, I've been playing Might and Magic 6, The Mandate of Heaven, which a game from an era that we'll never have again. So this is when Might and Magic switched from a grid-based, turn-based dungeon crawler to real-time 3D, and they had no idea what to do. It's just like there were no rules. You play as a party of 4, but it's a first-person, like almost first-person shooter perspective, despite you playing as 4 people. And there's just like 200 enemies on the screen. It's like, it's fucking Doom. But then it's just like, it's an RPG like Daggerfall. So it's kind of like all these different mashup of ideas, and there were no rules, and I miss the 90s when there were no rules. And that's why the PlayStation 1, I think, has a good claim at being the best game console ever, because we have a lot of weird games like this. Not that I don't think Might and Magic 6 is on PS1, but there are a lot of games on PS1 that feel like they have no rules in the way that this game has no rules. Cool time for video games.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm in.
Playing.
All right, you did the thing. You didn't buy a bunch of garbage like me, and you actually got to play more games. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
But
that's it. That's the show.
That's it. We did the thing, Tyler. We did the thing. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want to talk to us, I think Discord is the place where you can find most of us.
Already advertised. Stop it. I'm going to cut
it. No, I'm just saying where you can talk to us. Like where you can.
Oh my God, this show is free.
Shut the fuck up. I'm not saying that. I'm doing the part where I tell them where they can reach us.
They know.
We still tell them. Not everybody knows. You can reach us on Discord or sometimes Video Game Sage. Thank you for listening to The Collector's Quest. Tyler, thanks for really putting a bow on the end of the show.
Do you want to stretch it out for another 2 minutes so we hit 3 hours and people are like, oh yeah, 3 hour show?
Yeah, well, I mean, are you going to leave all this in where you were an idiot? Because I would love that.
I was an idiot? No, I was just telling people not to pay us.
It's like, don't tell people what to do. Don't try to be the boss of them. Tyler.
I'm telling people to save money. What are you doing buying video games? Put it all in an IRA. Why isn't your 401k maxed? $1 saved in your 20s could become $50 by the time you retire.
People are paying $900 for Skylanders, Tyler. They want to give us $4. That's okay.
Gen Z, something's going wrong with your generation. We need to figure it out.
This is punishment for you for keep sending me all those Skylander things. That's why this happened to you. You were like, Skylanders, look at my Skylanders. I was like, fine, you want to talk about Skylanders on the show? Let's talk about Skylanders.
I pretended I bought a sealed case of Skylanders, and Johnny didn't believe me for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, there's absolutely no way that happened. And then I was like, you know what? What a perfect episode to talk about Skylanders and ones that are expensive. You're lucky that I didn't write all 46 of them down to talk about.
All right, that's it. We just crossed 3 hours, and I think I gave us a little bit of extra time so that it's good. It's 3 hours. That's it. say bye.
That's it for the show. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. Bye.